The portal tore open above Pride Ring, like a wound in reality itself. White light spilled down through crimson sky, and with it came the exorcists. Wings spread wide, spears gleaming with that particular shine that meant death for demons. They descended in formation, disciplined and merciless, their war cries swallowed by the screams rising from Pentagram City below. Sung JinWoo had been standing in a gate when it happened. One moment he was calculating the distance to the boss room, the next, his shadow exchange caught on something. It shouldn't have a frequency that didn't belong to his world. The pull was immediate and absolute. Space folded wrong. His stomach lurched as dimensions collapsed into each other, and then he was falling through a sky that burned red instead of blue. He twisted mid-air, landing in a crouch on cracked pavement. The impact cracked the street beneath his boots. Around him, chaos. Buildings with neon signs flickering in languages he'd never seen. Demons, actual demons, not dungeon monsters, running in every direction. And above, angels, with masks and weapons that hummed with holy energy. JinWoo's eyes tracked the nearest threat. An exorcist dove toward a cluster of civilians huddled against a broken storefront. The angel's spear came down. JinWoo moved, shadow exchange. He materialized between the weapon and its targets, one hand catching the spear shaft. The holy energy burned against his palm, a sensation he hadn't felt since the early days, when every injury meant something. The exorcist's eyes widened behind her mask. JinWoo twisted, redirecting the momentum, and sent her spinning into the air.
Behind me,
he said to the demons, pressed against the storefront. They stared at him with yellow eyes, red eyes, eyes that glowed with terror. He didn't wait for acknowledgement. 3 more exorcists were descending, and he needed to establish a perimeter. His mana pulsed outward. The shadows responded, not the shadows of this world, but his shadows. They rose from the ground like black smoke taking form. Iron materialized, first the massive armored figure slamming into the pavement, with enough force to crack it further. Tank followed the ice bear's bulk, creating an instant wall between the civilians and the aerial assault. The exorcists hesitated. Good. Hesitation meant time to think. JinWoo scanned the area. The portal hung in the sky perhaps 2 kilometers ahead, surrounded by a halo of light that made the air shimmer. Beneath it, a building stood out from the rest. Cleaner lines, brighter colors, a sign that read, Hazbin Hotel, in cheerful script that felt obscene against the backdrop of slaughter. That's where they were hitting hardest. He made the calculation in seconds. High-value target, symbolic or strategic. Either way, if he was going to protect civilians in an unknown environment during what was clearly a coordinated assault, he needed a defensible position. The hotel had walls elevation, and apparently whoever ran it cared enough to make it a beacon.
Kaisel.
The wyvern emerged from darkness above him, wings spreading wide enough to cast shadows over half the street. JinWoo grabbed a handful of civilians, demons, he reminded himself, though they bled and screamed like any human, and gestured sharply upward.
Get them to that hotel. Stay out of direct combat.
Kaisel dipped low. The demons scrambled onto the wyvern's back, too terrified to question. JinWoo turned back to the immediate threat zone. More exorcists were peeling off from the main assault, drawn by the sudden resistance. He counted 12. Manageable. He pulled more shadows forth. Night-class soldiers materialized in formation, not his named commanders, not yet. This was reconnaissance. He needed to understand what he was dealing with before committing his heavy hitters. The knights moved with mechanical efficiency, intercepting exorcists mid-dive, creating a corridor of safety for any civilians still exposed. An angelic spear punched through one of his knights. The shadow soldier staggered, but didn't fall. Then JinWoo saw it. Where the spear had pierced the darkness, didn't regenerate. Instead, it burned with pale fire spreading slowly through the shadow's form. The night collapsed, dissolving faster than it should have. JinWoo's expression didn't change, but he filed the information away immediately. Holy damage. Anti-regeneration properties. Permanent injury potential. He recalled the damaged knight into his shadow reserve and repositioned the others, keeping them mobile, preventing direct hits. A woman's voice cut through the chaos, high desperate, trying to maintain hope in a situation that offered none.
We can still save them. Please just get inside.
JinWoo's head turned. The hotel entrance was visible now, and standing in front of it was a blonde demon in red and white, literally pulling injured civilians through the doors while rubble fell around her. She was exposed, vulnerable, and either incredibly brave or catastrophically naive. Probably both. He marked her location instantly, a flicker of darkness planted on the hotel's exterior wall, invisible to anyone not attuned to his power. An exorcist saw the same opening and adjusted her trajectory, diving toward the blonde, with spear raised. JinWoo swapped with the shadow he'd planted. He materialized directly in the spear's path, caught it with both hands, and used the exorcist's momentum to redirect her into the wall. The impact left a crater. The angel crumpled. The blonde demon stared at him. Up close, her eyes were noticeably different red sclera, but something else too. Recognition flickered across her face, then confusion, then determination reasserting itself.
Thank you. Can you help? There are so many people still out there, and the angels, they're not supposed to.
Get inside. Stay there.
He didn't wait for her response. The tactical situation was deteriorating. More portals were opening, smaller ones, and Emerson and exorcists were pouring through in greater numbers. This wasn't a raid. This was extermination. His mana reserves were deep. The Shadow Monarch's authority ensured that, but the rules here were foreign. That burning effect from the holy weapons changed the calculus. If his soldiers couldn't regenerate properly, he'd burn through them faster than usual. Attrition became the question, not capacity. A massive explosion tore through the sky above the hotel. JinWoo looked up. A figure descended through the smoke-golden wings. Ornate armor, a mask that bore a disturbingly casual grin. The figure's aura was different from the other exorcists. Heavier, more concentrated. This was a commander. The golden-winged angel surveyed the battlefield, saw JinWoo's shadows holding ground, and laughed. The sound carried across the chaos, amplified somehow.
Well, what the hell are you supposed to be?
JinWoo didn't answer. He was calculating threat levels, analyzing movement patterns, determining whether this was an enemy that required immediate elimination or could be temporarily contained. The angel's casual posture suggested confidence. The way the other exorcists instinctively gave him space suggested authority. This was Adam. Had to be. The reports the blonde had been shouting mentioned that name. Adam pointed his spear at JinWoo.
You're really cramping my style here, buddy. This is kind of our thing. Annual cleansing divine mandate, whole 9 yards, so why don't you just...
JinWoo raised his hand. Shadows erupted from the ground between them, a wall of darkness 30 feet high. Adam's next words were cut off as he had to bank hard to avoid slamming into it. When he came around for another pass, JinWoo had already displaced using exchange to relocate to the hotel's roof. From this vantage, he could see the full scope. The extermination, that's what the blonde had called it, was hitting the entire visible city. Thousands of angels, tens of thousands of demons. The casualties were already catastrophic. And near the main portal, the concentration of holy energy was so intense, it created visible distortion in the air. That would be a problem. His shadows functioned on mana, and while holy energy wasn't exactly mana's opposite, it interfered. He'd felt it when he caught that first spear. Fighting near the portal would mean reduced efficiency, slower response times. He'd have to rotate soldiers more frequently to avoid the degradation effect. A new presence appeared on the roof beside him. JinWoo turned hand, already moving to summon a blade, then stopped. The demon who'd appeared was tall, dressed in an old-fashioned red suit, with a smile that didn't reach his eyes and an aura that practically screamed predator.
My, what a delightful development. And here I thought this year's show would be dreadfully predictable.
JinWoo studied him for exactly 2 seconds, determined he wasn't an immediate threat to the civilians below, and turned back to the battlefield.
Stay out of the way.
The demon's smile widened, showing too many teeth.
Interfere never. I prefer curation, though I must say your timing is impeccable. Charlie was getting quite overwhelmed, and watching her struggle is only entertaining for so long before it becomes tedious.
Charlie? That was the blonde's name. JinWoo filed it away with the rest. Below, more exorcists were converging on the hotel's position. He needed to establish actual defensive lines, not just reactionary protection. He needed intelligence on what the portal actually was and why it had intercepted his exchange. He needed to understand the power structure here. But right now, people were dying. Strategy could wait. JinWoo stepped off the roof. He didn't fall so much as descend with purpose, landing in the hotel's courtyard with enough force to crack the decorative stonework. His shadows flowed out around him, and this time, he didn't hold back on numbers. 50 knights materialized, forming 3 concentric circles around the hotel's perimeter. Iron and Tank took positions at the main entrance. Kaisel landed on the roof, ready for aerial intercept. An exorcist broke through the outer ring spear aimed at a demon child frozen in terror. JinWoo appeared in front of her, not. Exchange this time, just raw speed. His hand caught her wrist. The holy energy burned, but he held on, twisted and removed the spear from her grip in a motion too fast for her to counter. She staggered back. He didn't pursue. She retreated. Adam's voice boomed again from above.
Okay, seriously, who the fuck are you?
JinWoo looked up, met the angel's eyes through that ridiculous mask, spoke 2 words.
Move back!
It wasn't a threat. It was a statement of fact. Adam could move back, or Adam could be moved. The choice was his. The angel's expression shifted behind the mask. The casual arrogance remained, but underneath it, calculation was happening. JinWoo recognized it the moment when an opponent realized the fight might actually cost something. Adam laughed again, but this time it carried an edge.
You know what? Keep your little fort. Loot change of plans. I want that hotel in pieces by sunrise. Work around him.
He ascended higher, circling rather than retreating. The exorcists nearest the hotel didn't withdraw. They repositioned, forming a looser perimeter. Probing, waiting. JinWoo watched the shift. This wasn't a victory. Adam hadn't been driven off. He'd adapted, and that made him more dangerous. Charlie emerged from the hotel, supporting an injured demon. She looked at JinWoo, at his shadows, at the defensive perimeter he'd established in a matter of minutes. Her expression cycled through exhaustion, gratitude, and something else, suspicion maybe, or concern about what he represented.
Thank you. I don't know where you came from or why you're helping, but thank you. These people would have died.
JinWoo nodded once. He turned his attention back to the sky, to the portal still hanging there, like an open wound. The holy energy radiating from it made his skin prickle. This extermination had hours left to run if the casualty rate was any indication. He'd stabilized one position, but that wasn't enough. He needed more information. He needed to understand the rules, and he needed to figure out why his shadow exchange had torn him from his world and dropped him into someone else's apocalypse. But first, he needed to make sure these people survived the night. His shadow spread further out, expanding the defensive perimeter. In the distance, screams continued. The slaughter wasn't stopping. It was just finding new targets. JinWoo's expression remained neutral, But inside, the familiar calculus was running. Assess, adapt, execute. He'd been dropped into an unknown war zone, with unclear allegiances and hostile forces attacking civilians. The choice was obvious. End the threat. Protect the vulnerable. Sort out the politics later. His mana pulsed outward again, and more shadows answered. This was going to be a long night. Let's talk about a bad day at work for our hero. JinWoo was just doing his usual dungeon raiding when he got sucked into, well, literally a hell. What is really cool is how he is already treating these angels like regular monsters. He is not scared at all, because he is just doing a math and planning his next move. Adam is so loud and annoying, while JinWoo is just silent and deadly. I wonder if these angels even know who they are messing with. Does Adam even stand a chance against a shadow monarch? This story is getting interesting, and I'm curious how JinWoo is getting defense. The courtyard held but only barely. Debris from the initial assault littered the ground, chunks of stone, shattered glass, and stains that could have been blood or something worse. JinWoo stood at the center of the defensive perimeter, watching his soldiers maintain formation, while the screams from distant sectors carried on the smoke-filled wind. Charlie emerged from the lobby supporting a demon whose arm hung at an unnatural angle. She moved with frantic purpose, placing the injured against the interior wall before turning back for more. Her dress was torn, stained with ash, and worse. She hadn't stopped since the fighting began.
How many inside?
She jumped slightly, not having noticed him approach.
43. Maybe 45. People keep arriving in Aikwai, Asin,
She stopped, steadied herself.
We have room for more. We have to have room for more.
JinWoo nodded once. He understood the impulse, even if he'd learned long ago that capacity had limits. Still, the determination in her voice reminded him of someone. His sister, maybe, back before everything changed. A roar split the air, not angelic war cries, something deeper, more primal. JinWoo's attention snapped to the eastern perimeter where iron held the line. The massive armored figure braced as a new wave crashed against the defenses. But these weren't the organized exorcist formations from before. These were opportunists. Other hell-dwellers using the chaos to settle scores or grab territory. A pack of them, maybe 15 strong, surging toward the perceived safety of the building. Not refugees. Raiders.
Stay inside.
Charlie started, but he was already moving.
Wait, those are...
He didn't use exchange this time. Simple speed carried him to the breach point in 3 strides. The lead raider, something with too many eyes and scales that shifted colors, raised a clawed hand. JinWoo caught the wrist mid-swing. The bone shattered. The creature howled.
Turn around, leave.
The others saw their leader dangling arm ruined, and the calculation happened fast. They scattered. JinWoo released the wounded one who limped after his pack, no pursuit necessary. They wouldn't return. Tank lumbered over the ice bear's bulk, creating a mobile wall. JinWoo placed a hand on the creature's flank, feeling the cold radiating through. His soldiers couldn't speak, not these lower-ranked ones, but Tank's presence communicated readiness. Good. They'd need that. The sky brightened. Not dawn, wrong direction, wrong color. Pure white light spilled from 3 new rifts tearing open above the city's western edge. Fresh reinforcements for heaven's forces. JinWoo counted silhouettes, 70, maybe 80. They descended in tight formation, disciplined and purposeful. His tactical assessment shifted immediately. The initial assault had been brutal, but scattered. This was different. Whoever commanded the angelic forces had regrouped and was pushing harder. The casualties from the first wave clearly hadn't satisfied the quota.
Kaisel?
He said quietly. The wyvern appeared from above wings, cutting through smoke. JinWoo gestured toward the western rifts.
Reconnaissance. Don't engage. I need numbers and movement patterns.
Kaisel banked away silent as always. The beast understood its role: observer transport, occasional intimidation. Not a frontline combatant despite the size, JinWoo had learned to use each piece correctly. A voice crackled through the air like old radio static.
Most people would call this hopeless.
Alastair stood on the roof's edge, one foot dangling over empty space, completely unconcerned with the battle raging across the district. His smile hadn't wavered since he'd first appeared. JinWoo wondered if the demon's face was capable of other expressions.
You're still here.
JinWoo observed.
Where else would I be? The entertainment value alone is worth the risk.
Alastair tilted his head, studying the defensive formations.
Though I must admit your little soldiers are quite fascinating. Do they have personalities, or are they merely extensions of your will?
JinWoo didn't answer. He was watching the skies, tracking 3 exorcists who'd broken from the main group and were angling toward the building. Fast approach, low altitude. Testing the defenses again. He raised one hand. 4 Knight-class soldiers materialized in their path, weapons drawn. The angels banked hard, startled by the sudden appearance. One wasn't fast enough. A dark blade caught her wing. She spiraled down, crash-landing 2 blocks away. The other 2 retreated to regroup. Alastair clapped slowly.
Marvelous. You make it look so effortless. Tell me, does the strain ever show, or is this genuinely easy for you?
JinWoo said.
It's work, like any other.
The demon's grin widened impossibly.
How delightfully modest. And I thought...
He stopped. Both of them felt it, a shift in the atmosphere, a pressure that made the air itself seem to thicken. JinWoo's eyes tracked upward. The central rift, the massive one that had started everything, was pulsing. Each pulse sent waves of white gold energy cascading down, and where that energy touched the darkness, seemed to recoil. JinWoo felt it in his soldiers. The Knight-class fighters nearest the rift's influence moved sluggishly, their forms losing cohesion at the edges. Not critically, they could still function, but the degradation was visible and accelerating. He pulled them back immediately, redistributing the formation. Outer ring shifted further from the rift's direct influence. Middle ring tightened. Inner ring remained anchored to the building itself. The rotation cost him seconds, but those seconds prevented total dissolution of his forward units. This was the price. The holy resonance emanating from that rift wasn't just atmospheric. It was weaponized interference, degrading anything tied to death, darkness, or shadow. His entire army.
Problems.
Alastair asked, entirely too cheerful. JinWoo ignored him. He was recalculating deployment ranges, establishing new thresholds. Any soldier spending more than 90 seconds in the high-intensity zone would need immediate recall and replacement. Attrition warfare. Exactly what he'd wanted to avoid. Charlie reappeared in the courtyard, now helping a family of 4 toward the entrance. 2 children clung to their parents', eyes wide with terror. She was speaking to them in low, reassuring tones, promising safety that JinWoo knew she couldn't guarantee. An exorcist spotted the group. Dove. JinWoo's hand moved before conscious thought completed. A Knight-class soldier intercepted blade, meeting the angelic weapon in a shower of sparks. The Knight held for 3 seconds before the blessed steel punched through its torso. White fire spread from the wound. The soldier collapsed, dissolving faster than normal regeneration could manage. JinWoo recalled the damaged unit and summoned a replacement in the same breath. The family made it inside. Charlie threw him a grateful look. He was already scanning for the next vulnerability. The rhythm settled into brutal efficiency. Angels probed. His forces countered. Casualties mounted on both sides, but the building held. The question was how long he could maintain this before resource depletion became critical. Kaisel returned, landing beside him, with enough force to crack the courtyard stones further. The wyvern's presence communicated urgency. JinWoo read the message in the creature's posture. The Western reinforcements weren't just additional numbers. They were elite units, better equipped and more coordinated.
How long until they arrive?
He asked. Kaisel's head tilted. 5 minutes, maybe less. JinWoo looked at his current deployment. He had perhaps 30 Knight-class soldiers, active iron and tank holding critical positions, and his reserves stretched thin from constant rotation. Elite forces would punch through that line if he didn't adapt. He needed a new approach. Quantity wasn't working, the holy interference saw to that. He needed quality positioning and better tactical awareness.
Iron tank fall back to secondary positions. Knight formation collapsed to triple-layer defense around the structure. Kaisel maintain aerial overwatch.
His soldiers moved instantly, the reorganization flowing smooth despite the chaos. The new configuration created depth rather than breadth. Harder to breach, easier to reinforce. More conservative, but more sustainable.
Retreating.
Alastor's tone held mock surprise.
I didn't think you were the type.
JinWoo corrected.
Adapting. There's a difference.
A figure dropped from the sky, landing on a building 3 blocks away. Female, white-haired, angular features visible even at this distance. She wore the same armor as the other exorcists, but her posture radiated command. This wasn't a soldier following orders. This was someone who gave them. Loot had to be. JinWoo had heard Charlie shout the name during the initial assault. The angel surveyed the battlefield with cold precision, her gaze sweeping across the defensive lines. The building, the huddled refugees visible through shattered windows. When her eyes found JinWoo, they lingered, assessing, calculating. She didn't attack, didn't call reinforcements, just watched. JinWoo watched back, 2 commanders evaluating each other across a war zone. She was seeing what he'd established, the layered defense, the rotation pattern, the prioritization of civilians over territory. And from the slight tilt of her head, she was drawing conclusions. Good. Let her think. Every second of observation was a second refugees reached safety. Loot turned to an exorcist hovering nearby, spoke briefly, then launched skyward again. The subordinate angel departed immediately, heading toward the Western reinforcements. JinWoo didn't like the implications. Orders were being passed. Strategy was shifting.
That one's trouble,
Alastor said, losing some of his theatrical cheer.
Loot doesn't play games. When she moves with intent.
JinWoo replied.
Everyone moves with intent.
Alastor's smile returned, but thinner.
Oh no, my friend. Most people flail dramatically while hoping for the best. Loot decides what she wants broken, then breaks it. Thoroughly.
The demon's smile returned, but thinner.
And I believe she's decided you're the obstacle worth removing.
JinWoo filed the information away. Another commander to account for another set of tactical patterns to learn. The list kept growing. An explosion lit up the southern district, massive enough that the shockwave reached them seconds later. JinWoo steadied himself. Charlie stumbled in the doorway, but caught herself. Alastor merely adjusted his bow tie. That hadn't been an exorcist attack. Wrong signature. That was Adam, somewhere out there, demonstrating exactly why he led this annual slaughter. The message was clear: overwhelming force, unlimited authority, and zero concern for collateral damage.
Your friend seems busy,
Alastor observed.
Not my friend,
JinWoo said.
No, you two seemed quite intimate earlier, what with the threatening and posturing.
The demon examined his claws casually.
Though I suppose enemies is more accurate. Which makes this all so much more interesting, doesn't it? The enemy of my enemy is...
JinWoo interrupted.
Still not relevant to me. If you're going to help. If not, stay clear.
Alastor's eyes flashed red for just a moment, the first crack in his perpetual amusement. Then the smile reasserted itself wider than before.
Help, my dear fellow, I told you. I curate, I observe, I ensure the show reaches its proper conclusion. But direct intervention, that would ruin the artistic integrity.
JinWoo turned away. Not worth the energy. The demon wanted to watch. Let him watch. As long as he didn't interfere, his presence was irrelevant. The Western reinforcements crested the skyline. JinWoo counted them properly now. 63. All in matching armor, moving in perfect synchronization. Elite units. Kaisel's reconnaissance had been accurate. They didn't rush in. They established positions on rooftops and floating platforms of light, creating a perimeter that slowly contracted. Methodical, professional. Exactly the kind of enemy that was hardest to counter disciplined soldiers following a coherent plan. Charlie appeared beside him, breathing hard.
There are more coming. We can see them from the upper floors. I don't.
She stopped, forced herself to focus.
How long can you hold them?
JinWoo looked at her. At the exhaustion written across her features, the determination that kept her standing despite it. She was asking the wrong question, but he understood what she really wanted to know.
As long as necessary.
It wasn't entirely true. Everything had limits. But Charlie needed certainty right now, not probabilistic analysis. He could give her that much. She nodded visibly, steadied by the answer, and headed back inside to coordinate with whoever else was helping manage the refugees. JinWoo returned his attention to the tactical problem. 63 elite angels coordinated assault, holy interference zone, expanding, and somewhere out there, both Adam and Loot planning their next moves. His current force distribution would hold for maybe 15 minutes before the attrition became unsustainable. He needed leverage, something to shift the calculus in his favor. His hand moved to his inventory, considering options. He had resources he hadn't deployed yet, stronger soldiers, better equipment abilities that would turn this from a defensive stand into an actual battle. But revealing capabilities prematurely was how you lost wars. The moment he showed his full hand, his opponents would adapt. Better to maintain ambiguity. Let them wonder what else he could do. A scream cut through his thoughts, different from the background chaos. Closer, more immediate. JinWoo's head snapped toward the sound. A section of the building's eastern wall had collapsed rubble, crushing 2 demons who'd been huddled there. Not from an attack. Structural failure. The damage from earlier finally cascading. Charlie was already running toward them. JinWoo moved faster. He pulled the debris away with his bare hands, ignoring the cuts from jagged stone. The first demon was dead neck broken by the initial impact. The second was breathing barely. Crushed legs, internal bleeding.
Hospital. There's a clinic 4 blocks south, if it's still standing.
Charlie gasped, arriving beside him.
Kaisel.
JinWoo said. The wyvern descended immediately. JinWoo lifted the injured demon, carefully placed them on Kaisel's back, and pointed south.
Medical facility. Go.
Kaisel launched without hesitation. Charlie watched the wyvern disappear into the smoke, then looked at JinWoo.
You didn't have to,
he said simply.
Yes, I did.
Because that was the point, wasn't it? The reason he was standing here, instead of finding a way back to his own world. People were dying. He could stop some of those deaths. The choice was obvious. The elite forces began their approach. 63 became 58, visible the others had likely moved to flanking positions. JinWoo's soldiers tensed. He felt their readiness through the connection that bound them. They would hold because he commanded it. They would fall if necessary, and he would resummon them if possible. The first angel crossed into engagement range. JinWoo's knights met them halfway. Steel clashed with blessed weapons' darkness against holy light. The sound was catastrophic, each impact like thunder compressed into a single point. 3 angels breached the line. Iron intercepted 2 massive fists, crushing armor. The third got past spear aimed at the building's entrance, where civilians were still entering. JinWoo appeared in front of the blade, caught it bare-handed, and snapped the shaft. The angel stared at him, in shock for the half-second before his fist drove her into the ground. The holy burn traveled up his arm, slow but persistent. He'd grabbed too many blessed weapons today. The accumulated damage was starting to register. Not critical, not yet, but noteworthy. He pulled back into the defensive formation, maintaining position rather than overextending. The angels probed again, found the line solid, and retreated to regroup. Testing, learning, adapting. This was the pattern now. Attack, counter, withdraw, repeat. Each cycle wearing down both forces incrementally. JinWoo understood siege warfare. This was that compressed into a single night. The question wasn't who was stronger, it was who could outlast the other. A voice echoed across the district, amplified somehow. Lute's voice.
New orders focus fire on structural weaknesses. Bring the building down. The refugees die with it.
JinWoo's expression didn't change, but the tactical situation shifted instantly. They weren't targeting his soldiers anymore. They were targeting the foundation itself. Bypass the defense by destroying what it protected. Charlie's face appeared in a broken window, horror dawning as she understood the implication.
They're going to...
JinWoo said.
I know.
He looked at the building, at the cracks already forming from earlier damage, at the dozens of people packed inside who couldn't fight and couldn't flee. Then he looked at his soldiers, at the formations that were already stretched thin. The math was simple. He couldn't defend the entire structure's perimeter while also maintaining anti-air coverage and managing the holy interference zones. Something had to give, unless he changed the paradigm entirely. JinWoo closed his eyes, reached deeper into the well of power that had defined him since the day he stopped being weak. The authority that made him more than human, more than hunter, more than anything this world had terms for. When he opened them again, darkness spilled from his feet like liquid shadows spreading across the courtyard, up the walls, coating the building's exterior in a layer of living night. The angels pulled back instinctively. Even Alastor's smile faltered.
Monarch's domain,
JinWoo said quietly. The effect was immediate. Every soldier within the field's influence strengthened their forms, sharpening movements, quickening. The degradation from holy interference didn't stop, but it slowed dramatically. And more importantly, the building itself was now under his protection. Any attack would have to go through him first. It was expensive. Maintaining a domain this size for this many soldiers with this much interference would drain him faster than simple summoning. But it bought time, and time was what they needed. The elite forces hesitated. JinWoo saw the moment of doubt ripple through their ranks. They'd been sent to demolish a building. They'd found something else instead. Lute appeared on a nearby rooftop, staring at the transformed battlefield. Her expression was unreadable behind the mask, but her posture communicated calculation. She was reassessing. Good. Then she spoke, voice cutting across the distance, with absolute clarity.
Interesting. You prioritize them over efficiency. That's exploitable.
JinWoo met her gaze, said nothing. There was nothing to say. She'd identified his weakness and telegraphed her intent to use it. Standard tactics. He'd do the same in her position. The angels regrouped tighter formation this time and began their approach again. JinWoo's soldiers moved to intercept. The next wave of combat started before the previous one had fully ended. No rest, no pause, just continuous attrition. Charlie emerged from the building, looked at the darkness coating the walls, then at JinWoo.
What did you...
He said.
protection, temporary, keep them inside.
She opened her mouth to ask more, seemed to think better of it, and nodded. She understood the core message. This bought them time. But time wasn't infinite. They needed a better solution. JinWoo didn't have one yet. But he'd fought in situations like this before. Outnumbered, outgunned, with no clear path to victory. You survived by making the enemy's advantages irrelevant. You adapted faster than they could adjust, and you never, ever showed them everything you could do. A massive explosion rocked the northern district, another demonstration from Adam. Closer this time. The message was obvious. The area commander was working his way through the city, and eventually he'd arrive here. When that happened, the real fight would begin. Everything before that was just preparation. JinWoo checked his force distribution one more time, made minor adjustments, and settled into position. The night was far from over. The casualties would keep mounting, and somewhere above them, heaven's portal continued to pulse with holy light that tried to scour anything touched by death or darkness. But the building held. The people inside breathed. And JinWoo stood between them and annihilation, doing what he'd always done, ending threats, protecting the vulnerable, making the impossible look routine. The elite forces charged again. JinWoo's soldiers met them with practiced efficiency. Steel rang against blessed weapons. Darkness fought against light. And in the center of it all, completely silent, JinWoo calculated his next move. The domain held, but JinWoo felt the cost. Not physical exhaustion, his reserves ran deeper than that, but tactical strain. Every second maintaining the field meant resources, committed options, narrowed. He was buying time at compound interest rates. 6 minutes into the new defensive posture, the pattern shifted. The elite angels stopped probing. They withdrew to a loose ring formation, maintaining visual contact but no longer testing the perimeter. Disciplined withdrawal. JinWoo recognized it immediately. They were waiting for orders. Loot descended into the center of their formation. Even at this distance, JinWoo could see her gesturing, dividing her forces into smaller units. Not retreat, reorganization. The kind that preceded something worse.
They're changing tactics,
Charlie said from the doorway behind him. She'd stopped trying to help evacuate people. There was nowhere left to evacuate them to. Now she just watched helpless as strategy unfolded beyond her ability to influence. JinWoo didn't respond. He was counting units, tracking movements. Loot split her forces into 4 squads of roughly 15 each. 3 oriented toward different approach vectors. The 4th remained elevated mobile reserve. Standard combined arms doctrine and extremely bad news. The squads moved simultaneously, not toward the building, toward the surrounding blocks, where civilians were still trapped in collapsed structures or hiding in basements. Splitting his attention across multiple threat vectors. JinWoo understood immediately. This wasn't about overwhelming his defenses. This was about forcing choices. Protect the building or protect the scattered refugees. Maintain concentrated power or dilute effectiveness, trying to cover everything. Loot had identified his constraint and designed a strategy to exploit it. He made the calculation in under a second. The domain could hold the building with minimal supervision, iron and tank plus night class reserves. That freed him to address the external threats. But he needed precision, not numbers. These weren't mindless wave troops. These were professionals who'd identified his soldiers' weakness and would target it ruthlessly. Time to show them what professionals really looked like.
Igris.
The knight materialized beside him. Taller than the standard soldiers, armored in layered darkness that moved like liquid metal twin blades crossed on his back. Where the others felt like extensions of JinWoo's will, Igris felt like an officer awaiting orders. The knight inclined his head slightly. Ready?
North Quadrant. Eliminate the squad targeting the residential cluster. Don't engage if they have more than 3 blessed weapons active simultaneously. Fall back and I'll reinforce.
Igris drew one blade and vanished, not with exchange, but with pure speed. JinWoo tracked his trajectory for half a heartbeat, then shifted focus.
Beru.
The second form that emerged was smaller than Igris, but infinitely more disturbing. Humanoid frame wrapped in chitinous armor wings that looked more weapon than limb, and an aura that made even the ambient darkness recoil slightly. Beru had been an ant king before joining the army. The predator instinct never faded.
Western approach. Their mobile reserve is circling. Break their aerial superiority. Make them ground-bound.
Beru's response was a sound between acknowledgement and hunger. Then wings snapped open, and the creature launched skyward, accelerating faster than any of the angels had demonstrated. Charlie made a small sound, not quite fear, but close.
What are those?
JinWoo said simply.
Commanders.
He kept the rest to himself. Igris and Beru were named soldiers individuals rather than mass-produced troops. They retained personality, tactical judgment, and most critically combat experience that exceeded most S-rank hunters JinWoo had encountered in life. Sending them meant he was done measuring the opposition. The northern squad hit resistance 30 seconds later. JinWoo didn't need visual confirmation, he felt it through the connection. Igris engaged 6 angels simultaneously. Blade work, not power. Precision cuts targeting armor joints and wing articulation. 2 angels fell in the first exchange, not dead, but combat ineffective. The others withdrew to regroup. Igris didn't pursue. He positioned himself between the squad and their target, a basement shelter, housing approximately 20 civilians. Defensive stance. Exactly what JinWoo had trained him for. West Side delivered different results. Beru hit the mobile reserve like a missile. No technique, no elegance. Pure predatory violence. 3 angels were grounded before they registered the attack. The formation shattered. Those who retained flight capability scattered instinct overriding discipline. JinWoo allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The opposition had expected uniform resistance. They'd gotten specialist counters instead. Psychological impact was as valuable as tactical advantage. Then Lute adapted. She redirected 2 squads, converging them on Igris's position. 28 angels against 1 commander. Simultaneously, she personally led the 4th squad directly toward the building. Not the structure itself, the refugees still outside, trapped between cover positions. JinWoo read the intent instantly. Overwhelm Igris while she created a crisis at the primary defensive point. Force him to recall his commander or watch civilians die. Textbook tactical fork. He chose option 3. Shadow exchange put him directly in Lute's path. Her spear thrust came immediately. She'd anticipated the displacement. JinWoo caught the blessed steel bare-handed, felt the holy burn intensify across already damaged palms, and held position.
You're predictable. Always the same choice. They die or you stop me. Every single time.
Lute said, mask hiding her expression, but voice carrying cold satisfaction.
Yes.
JinWoo agreed. Then he twisted, using her momentum against her, and drove her spear point first into the ground, hard enough to crack the pavement. The shaft bent, but didn't break. Lute released it rather than be pulled off balance, already drawing a secondary weapon. JinWoo didn't give her the opening. He summoned a blade not from inventory, but from pure materialized darkness and struck. Lute parried wings, snapping out for a counterattack. He anticipated the angle, ducked under, and swept her legs. She recovered mid-fall, using wing-assisted aerial correction to land in fighting stance. Good instincts, but she was thinking in terms of single combat. JinWoo wasn't. 3 Knight-class soldiers materialized behind her. Not to attack, to contain. They formed a triangle, blessed weapons, or not giving her exactly 2 choices. Fight through them to continue toward the refugees or engage JinWoo directly. Either way, the civilians had time to reach cover. Lute's head tilted fractionally, reassessing. Then she spoke into some kind of communication device JinWoo couldn't see.
Target shift. The Dark Soldiers are priority. Ignore the building.
The two squads converging on Igris adjusted immediately. But instead of engaging, they spread out, creating a perimeter. Containment, not elimination. They were learning. JinWoo felt Igris's situation shift from advantageous to constrained. The knight could break through, probably, but it would cost. More importantly, it would expose the civilians he was protecting. Tactical stalemate. West Side was different. Beru had adapted to the scattered formation by hunting individually. 3 more angels grounded, injured, but alive. The creature understood the parameters. This was intimidation and area denial, not extermination. Yet, Charlie's voice cut through his tactical assessment.
Behind you.
JinWoo spun. An angel he hadn't tracked, one of Lute's original squad, had flanked wide and was diving toward a cluster of demons huddled near the building's collapsed eastern section. Opportunistic strike while his attention was divided. He couldn't reach in time. Not with exchange, not with speed. The angel was already committed. Spear aimed at Alistair appeared in front of the refugees. The demon didn't fight. He simply smiled at the approaching angel, and something in that expression made her pull up short, instinct screaming warnings her training couldn't override. She banked hard, abandoning the strike entirely. Alastair's smile widened.
Now, where are your manners?
JinWoo filed the intervention away for later analysis. Alastair had claimed he wouldn't interfere yet. Here he was interfering. Which meant either the demon's rules were more flexible than advertised, or something about the current situation had changed his calculus. Irrelevant for now. JinWoo returned focus to Lute, who hadn't advanced during the distraction. She was watching him, studying, waiting for the moment when split attention created an opening she could exploit.
You're stretched thin. 2 commanders, multiple threat vectors, holy degradation across your entire force. How long can you maintain this before something breaks?
Lute said, mask hiding her expression, but voice carrying cold satisfaction. JinWoo met her gaze through the mask.
Longer than you.
It wasn't bravado. It was math. She had finite forces, finite time. Extermination had to end eventually, and from what Charlie had said, these events operated on schedules. JinWoo's resources were deeper, his tactical flexibility greater. As long as he could prevent catastrophic casualties, time favored him. Lute seemed to reach the same conclusion. Her posture shifted fractionally, still combat ready, but calculating rather than aggressive.
Fine. New approach.
She whistled a sharp carrying note. The squads surrounding Igris disengaged simultaneously, not retreating but repositioning to elevated locations. Rooftops, floating platforms, anywhere with clear sight lines. The mobile reserve regrouped, Beru still harrying, but unable to prevent the reorganization. Then they started targeting the buildings themselves. Not the hotel. JinWoo's domain protected that, but the surrounding structures where people sheltered. Spears of light lanced down, punching through weakened walls, collapsing already damaged foundations. Not directly attacking the civilians, just destroying their cover. JinWoo understood immediately. Flush them into the open, make them move. When they panicked and ran, they'd be vulnerable. And he couldn't be everywhere simultaneously.
You're backing them into kill zones,
Charlie said, voice hollow with horrified realization. She'd seen this tactic before, probably during previous exterminations. Lute heard her, turned slightly toward the hotel.
Yes, it's very effective. They run, we cut them down. Clean, efficient, within divine mandate parameters. Your friend can save maybe a dozen if he's very fast and very lucky. The rest will die doing exactly what survival instinct tells them to do.
JinWoo was already moving. Exchange put him at the nearest collapse point. Civilians were indeed fleeing, a family of 4 running blind right into a sight line 3 angels had already oriented toward. He positioned himself between them and the threat dark blade manifesting. The first spear he deflected. The second he caught. The third got past his guard. It punched through his shoulder. The holy burn was immediate and catastrophic, spreading through tissue faster than his regeneration could compensate. Not life-threatening, but definitely impairing. His right arm lost significant strength. He dropped the caught spear, shifted the blade to his left hand, and kept the civilians behind him until they'd reached better cover. The 3 angels held position, not pressing the attack. They'd drawn blood. That was apparently enough for now. JinWoo pulled the embedded spear free. The wound didn't close. Holy damage lingered, prevented natural healing. He'd accumulated 4 similar injuries now. Not critical individually, but compound effects were building. Igris's situation degraded further. The angels weren't attacking him directly anymore. They were targeting the structure he was defending. The basement was collapsing. He'd have to extract the civilians or lose them to structural failure. Either choice exposed them. West Side reported different problems. Baru had inflicted substantial casualties, but the mobile reserve had regrouped with reinforcements from somewhere. Now they were pressing back using coordinated blessed weapons to create zones the creature couldn't safely enter. The tactical picture was deteriorating. Not catastrophically. Not yet. But the trajectory was clear. Loot had identified that civilians were both his priority and his constraint. She was systematically transforming that into a vulnerability. JinWoo made another calculation. He was losing this exchange slowly. Attrition favored the angels if he stayed reactive. He needed to collapse one threat vector entirely, create breathing room, then address the others from a position of temporary advantage.
Igris, extract the civilians to the hotel. Fighting withdrawal, don't engage unless forced. Baru, disengage mobile reserve. Relocate to my position.
Both commanders acknowledged simultaneously. JinWoo felt them shift tactical modes. Igris from defense to extraction. Baru from harassment to repositioning. He marked Loot's location, verified her squad's positioning, and made a choice. He was going to remove her from the battlefield. Not kill that might have consequences he didn't understand yet. But disable, force her withdrawal, eliminate the strategic intelligence coordinating these attacks. Baru arrived, first wings folded ready. JinWoo pointed at Loot's elevated position.
We're going through her squad. Fast, brutal, no sustained engagement. The objective is forcing her to fall back, understand?
Baru's mandibles clicked, affirmation mixed with anticipation.
Go!
They moved as one. JinWoo used exchange to cross half the distance instantly, Baru covering the rest through aerial strike. Loot's squad barely had time to react. JinWoo went low blade, cutting through supporting positions. Baru went high wings, creating localized wind shear that disrupted flight formation. 3 angels down in the first second. Not dead, JinWoo was precise, but injured badly enough to be non-factors. 4 more scattered, discipline breaking under the sudden reversed pressure. The remainder tried to form protective detail around Loot. JinWoo cut through them. 1 parry, 1 deflection, 3 simultaneous strikes that disabled weapons without killing wielders. Baru handled the aerial components, dragging 2 angels out of position and hurling them into distant buildings. Then JinWoo stood directly in front of Loot, blade raised, injuries ignored.
Your turn. Fight here or reposition your forces. Choose fast.
Loot's posture communicated frustration, but her tone remained level.
This doesn't change anything. I've already confirmed what I needed to know.
JinWoo asked.
Which is...
Loot replied.
You can be killed. It'll just take the right circumstances.
She launched backward wings, carrying her to safe distance before JinWoo could close. Her remaining squad followed, leaving the injured behind. Professional retreat, no hesitation, no wasted motion. JinWoo let her go. Pursuing meant leaving other areas vulnerable. This had been about creating space, not total victory. He checked the tactical picture. Igris had successfully extracted the basement civilians and was escorting them toward the hotel. Baru's former position was now clear. The mobile reserve had pulled back after their commander's near elimination. The immediate crisis was contained. But Lut's final words hung in the air like a promise. She'd learned what she came to learn. Whatever came next would account for that intelligence. Alastair appeared beside him, examining the scattered angelic forces with apparent interest.
That was almost impressive. You fight like someone who's done this before.
JinWoo said.
I have.
Alastair replied.
Killing angels, I find that difficult to believe.
JinWoo sheathed the dark blade.
Killing things that shouldn't be killed. It's the same skill set.
The demon studied him with eyes that held more calculation than humor.
You know they're going to escalate. Loot reports to Adam. Adam doesn't take embarrassment well.
JinWoo glanced toward the city's northern district, where explosions had been steadily advancing closer. Adam's methodology was becoming clear, systematic destruction block by block, establishing total dominance before engaging specific targets.
Let him come.
Alastair's laugh was genuine this time.
Oh, I think I'm starting to like you. You're either brilliantly confident or catastrophically stupid, and I honestly can't determine which.
JinWoo asked.
Does it matter?
Alastair replied.
To me, not at all. I just want to see which one gets you killed.
The demon vanished in a swirl of shadows that weren't quite like JinWoo's, more theatrical, less functional. Charlie met him as he returned to the hotel's perimeter. Igris was delivering the last of the extracted civilians through the entrance. The knight's armor showed damage scoring from blessed weapon sections where the darkness had burned away and wasn't regenerating properly.
Will he be all right?
Charlie asked. JinWoo examined the damage remotely. Significant but not critical. Igris could still fight just with reduced effectiveness.
He'll recover, slowly.
Charlie asked.
And you?
He looked down at his shoulder at the wound that still wept darkness instead of blood that showed no signs of closing.
Same answer.
Charlie's expression cycled through concern and something else, maybe understanding that he was being truthful in the most limited sense. Yes, they'd recover, eventually, if they survived long enough.
Thank you for pulling your soldiers back to save those people. You could have...
JinWoo interrupted.
No, I couldn't have.
Because that was the truth. The moment those civilians became his responsibility, there was no version of events where he abandoned them. Loot had been right about that. It was predictable. It was exploitable. And he'd make the same choice every single time. An explosion rocked the skyline much closer than the previous ones. JinWoo turned toward the sound. Northern District maybe 3 kilometers out. Adam was still advancing, still demonstrating overwhelming force. The message was clear. This had been preliminary. The real fight was approaching. JinWoo recalled his scattered forces, consolidated the perimeter, and checked his reserves. Igris injured Baru undamaged but winded himself, carrying multiple holy wounds that wouldn't heal naturally. His domain was still active, but draining resources steadily. The math was getting tighter. Not impossible, just tighter. He looked at the civilians packed into the hotel, exhausted, terrified but alive. Looked at Charlie standing beside him, still refusing to give up despite everything. Looked at the city burning under heaven's judgment. Then he looked toward where Adam's destruction was carving a path directly toward them.
How long until he arrives?
Charlie asked. JinWoo calculated distance, destruction rate, probable speed.
20 minutes, maybe less?
Charlie asked.
And then?
JinWoo replied.
Then we find out if this building's walls can hold against an archangel.
Charlie's hands clenched into fists.
They have to. There's nowhere else to go.
JinWoo didn't respond. There was no point in empty reassurance. Either they'd survive the next engagement, or they wouldn't. Preparation mattered more than optimism. He strengthened the domain's anchoring points, rotated injured soldiers out of active duty, and positioned his remaining forces for maximum defensive efficiency. When Adam arrived, JinWoo would be ready. As ready as anyone could be for what was coming. It is such a hype moment to see Igris and Baru join the fight. Lute thought she was so smart by attacking the weak spots where people were hiding. But she totally forgot JinWoo is not alone. He has an army of shadows that are basically super soldiers. JinWoo chooses to save people even when it makes the fight harder for him. Most heroes would struggle with that, but he just sends his best guys and keeps moving. I wonder if Lute is actually a better leader than Adam, or is she just more mean? Tell me your opinion below. Well, things are getting really heated now, so let's see what happens when the big bosses finally clash. 15 minutes remained before Adam's arrival. JinWoo spent the first 3 redistributing his compromised assets Igris to the eastern perimeter, where the knight's reduced mobility mattered least, Baru maintaining aerial surveillance despite obvious fatigue. The domain pulsed steadily around the structure, draining resources at a rate he could sustain, but not indefinitely. Charlie was organizing the refugees into something resembling order. Medical needs. In one section, families with children; in another, the injured who could still move closer to potential exit routes. Practical thinking born from desperation. JinWoo approved. Then, the pattern broke. 6 simultaneous explosions rocked different districts, not the massive demonstrations Adam had been delivering, but precise strikes on residential clusters. JinWoo felt the shockwaves through the ground track the rising smoke columns. Each blast created a fresh crisis point roughly equidistant from his current location. Lute's voice carried across the district through some kind of amplification.
New deployment parameters. All units execute dispersal protocol. Target civilian concentrations. Make them scatter.
JinWoo understood the shift instantly. She'd stopped trying to break through his defenses. Instead, she was creating situations where defense became meaningless. Force the protected to flee, then eliminate them in transit. Classic counterinsurgency doctrine applied to urban warfare. He ran the calculations. 6 sites, roughly 2 kilometers spread. His exchange could cover the distance, but not simultaneously. Igris and Baru could address maybe 2 more between them. That left 3 crisis points unattended.
How many people are out there?
JinWoo asked Charlie. She looked up from her coordination efforts, face drawn.
In those areas, maybe 300, maybe more. A lot of people couldn't reach us in time.
300 civilians, 6 attack zones. His forces could maybe save half if the response was immediate and flawless. The other half would die doing exactly what survival instinct demanded, running toward imagined safety. JinWoo saw the trap. He stepped into it anyway.
Igris Northeast Cluster. Extract and escort to secondary shelter locations. Baru Southwest, same parameters. Do not engage elite squads unless they prevent extraction. Understand.
Both commanders acknowledged and departed immediately. JinWoo marked the 4 remaining sites prioritized by estimated population density and structural integrity and started moving. The first location was an apartment complex with the lower floors demolished. People trapped on upper levels, fire spreading from below angels, circling like carrion birds waiting for prey to emerge. JinWoo appeared on the roof via exchange, assessed the situation in 2 seconds. The stairwell was compromised. Windows offered the only egress. He manifested 20 night-class soldiers in the building's shadow and directed them to form a living chain. Grab refugees, pass them down to ground level. Maintain defensive screen against aerial attack. Mechanical efficiency. It worked. 37 people extracted in under 90 seconds. The Angels probed twice, lost 2 of their number to his knights, and withdrew to regroup. JinWoo was already moving to the next site before the last civilian touched ground. The second location was worse. A shelter had collapsed entirely, and people were buried in rubble. JinWoo didn't have excavation equipment. He had darkness and brute strength. He tore into the debris, manually pulling aside concrete slabs that should have required machinery. Found 12 alive, found 8 dead. The ones he found alive, he sent running toward the nearest fortified position under night escort. The dead he left. There was no time for anything else. An angel spotted the evacuation group and dove. JinWoo intercepted blade meeting blessed spear mid-strike. The holy burn added another line of fire across his already damaged left forearm. He killed the angel. Not disabled, killed. It was faster, and speed mattered more than restraint now. The body dissolved into light before hitting the ground. Third sight. A makeshift barricade where demons had tried to create their own defensive position. It hadn't worked. Bodies everywhere, some still moving. JinWoo counted 43 survivors scattered across 3 buildings. Angels were systematically going through each structure. He couldn't extract them all, not fast enough. Not before the angels completed their sweep. He made a choice. Marked the building with the most survivors, 26 by his count. Deployed his remaining mobile reserves there. The other 2 buildings would have to survive on their own or die trying. Mathematics of triage. He hated it. The evacuation from the primary building succeeded. 24 made it out too, didn't survive their injuries during transport. JinWoo heard screams from the other structures as angels found their targets. He focused on the ones he could save and kept moving. Fourth sight hit him differently. It was a school, or had been. The facade still showed cheerful murals now scorched and pocked with impact craters. Inside, teachers had gathered students into the most defensible room they could find. 14 children, 3 adults, trapped. The angels hadn't found them yet, but they would. JinWoo could hear blessed weapons tearing through walls as the search pattern advanced floor by floor. He went through the building like a storm, killed the first angel before she registered his presence, killed the second mid-swing at a door that would have revealed the hidden room. The third saw him coming and tried to retreat. JinWoo didn't allow it. When the building was clear, he opened the barricaded door. The adults stared at him with expressions cycling through terror and desperate hope. The children just stared, too traumatized for coherent emotion.
Follow,
JinWoo said. No time for reassurance. He led them out through the safest route he could identify his knights, forming a protective corridor. They made it 6 blocks before encountering another elite squad. This time, he couldn't avoid engagement. The squad had positioned specifically to intercept evacuation routes. Professional planning. Probably Lute's direct coordination. 7 angels with blessed weapons disciplined formation. Clear orders to eliminate refugees and anyone protecting them. JinWoo put himself between the squad and the civilians.
keep moving, don't stop.
The teachers understood. They grabbed children and ran. JinWoo held position. 7 against 1 was poor odds even for opponents he outclassed individually. 7 with weapons that prevented regeneration made it genuinely dangerous. He'd been accumulating damage all night, shoulder, forearm, a deep gash along his ribs from an earlier encounter. The holy burns weren't healing. They were spreading. The angels attacked in coordinated waves. 3 high 2, mid 2, low standard envelopment. JinWoo's response was economical. He didn't fight all 7. He killed the 2 in low position, immediately collapsing their formation before it could complete. Then, he targeted the mid-level pair, disabling wings, rather than going for fatal strikes. Time over thoroughness. The remaining 3 hesitated long enough for his knights to arrive and create numerical parity. The angels withdrew. JinWoo didn't pursue. The civilians were still moving, still vulnerable. He caught up to them, verified they'd reached a fortified position, and prepared to move to the next crisis. Except, there wasn't a next crisis he could reach. The remaining 2 sites were beyond his operational range now. Igris and Baru were handling their assignments, but reports coming back through his connection suggested heavy resistance. They were succeeding, but slowly. Too slowly. People were dying in those areas he couldn't reach. He knew it with absolute certainty. The math was simple. 6 sites, 3 responders, time delays, attrition. Some would survive through luck or their own competence. Most wouldn't. He'd saved perhaps 150, perhaps 200 if Igris and Baru's evacuations went optimally. That meant 100 to 150 dead, minimum. Probably higher once he factored in the casualties at sites where his response had been too slow or too thin. JinWoo had made choices. Every choice meant someone lived and someone else died. He understood that intellectually. Understanding didn't make it lighter. Charlie found him when he returned to the main structure. She was helping a family settle into the increasingly crowded interior when their eyes met. She saw something in his expression, or maybe in the blood on his clothes, his armor, his hands.
How many?
She asked quietly.
Saved or lost?
Charlie replied.
Either.
JinWoo told her. The numbers, the sights, the decisions. He didn't soften it. She'd asked. She deserved truth. Charlie's face went through several emotions too quickly to track individually. Then she steadied herself the way she'd been doing all night, finding determination in impossible circumstances.
You did what you could. You saved people who would have died. That matters.
JinWoo agreed.
It does. The ones who died anyway also matter.
She didn't have a response to that. Neither did he. They stood in silence while screams continued in the distance, and smoke painted the sky darker than the night warranted. Alistair materialized nearby, his perpetual smile notably dimmed.
That was educational. Loot played you rather expertly, made you choose between bad options and worse ones. Classic pressure test. See what breaks.
JinWoo turned toward him.
Something you want to say?
Alistair replied.
Not particularly, just observing.
The demon examined his claws with affected casualness.
Though I do wonder how many more rounds of this can you endure before the calculus changes, before saving them stops being possible, and you have to decide if fighting to the end serves any purpose.
JinWoo stated flatly.
That won't happen.
Alistair challenged.
Won't it? You're bleeding from multiple wounds that aren't healing. Your soldiers are operating at reduced effectiveness. Loot has demonstrated she can force you into no-win scenarios at will, and Adam is still advancing.
Alistair's eyes glinted red.
I'm not suggesting surrender. I'm suggesting that perhaps your approach requires adjustment.
Charlie asked before JinWoo could respond.
What adjustment?
Alistair gestured toward the packed structure.
Stop trying to save everyone. Prioritize. Consolidate. Let the outliers fend for themselves so the core survives. You have perhaps 400 people here. Safe, defensible, sustainable. Everything else is sentimentality.
JinWoo met the demon's gaze.
No.
Alistair's smile returned sharp.
No, just no. No consideration of pragmatism. No acknowledgement that your current strategy is bleeding you dry.
JinWoo repeated.
No.
Because that's what this came down to. Alistair was right about the math. JinWoo was compromised, his forces stretched beyond optimal deployment, the opposition learning and adapting faster than he could counter. Consolidating around the core position would be smarter. It would also mean abandoning everyone outside that perimeter. Accepting their deaths as necessary losses, rational, efficient, wrong. Charlie stepped beside him, not quite shoulder to shoulder, but close enough to communicate solidarity.
We don't leave people behind. That's not negotiable.
Alistair studied them both, then shrugged.
Your funeral. I'll enjoy watching how it plays out.
He vanished again, leaving only the faint scent of ozone. JinWoo checked his remaining assets. Domain still holding but draining faster. The accumulated strain of maintaining it during combat operations was compounding. Igris had successfully extracted his assigned group, but taken more damage in the process. Baru reported completion, but flagged exhaustion. His night class reserves were thin. The tactical picture was degrading. Not catastrophically, not yet. But the margin for error had shrunk to almost nothing. A new voice cut through the ambient chaos, massive, amplified, impossible to ignore. Adam's voice, finally speaking directly rather than through distant destruction.
Attention, Pride Ring. This has gone on long enough. New rules. Loot cease dispersal operations. Consolidate all forces. I'm coming in and I want clear airspace.
The sound came from everywhere and nowhere, like thunder that forgot to fade. JinWoo felt the shift immediately. The distributed pressure pulling his forces thin suddenly collapsed. Angels withdrew from their scattered position, reforming into larger groups. Heading toward the central district, heading here. Lute's voice responded professional and cold.
Acknowledged. All units fall back to Rally Point Alpha. Establish perimeter. Await further orders.
The battlefield reorganized in minutes. What had been a dispersed guerrilla operation became a concentrated siege. Angels ringed the area, in formation, weapons ready but not engaging. Waiting. Charlie appeared beside JinWoo again.
He's coming.
JinWoo confirmed.
Yes.
Charlie started.
Can you?
She stopped, rephrased.
What do we do?
JinWoo looked at the assembled angelic forces. Looked at the domain still holding the structure together through sheer expenditure of power. Looked at his damaged commanders and depleted reserves. Then he looked at Charlie. At her exhaustion, her terror, her absolute refusal to give up despite both. She reminded him why he'd made his choices tonight. Not the strategic ones, those were easy. The moral ones. The ones that cost something.
We hold.
Charlie asked.
For how long?
JinWoo replied.
Long enough.
It wasn't particularly comforting. It wasn't meant to be. But it was honest, and Charlie seemed to appreciate that. She nodded once and returned to coordinating the civilians inside, preparing them for whatever came next. JinWoo recalled his scattered forces. Igris and Baru returned, both showing visible damage, but still functional. His night-class soldiers consolidated into defensive formations. He strengthened the domain's anchoring points, accepting the increased drain in exchange for better protection. Then he waited. Adam appeared on the horizon, not flying, but walking through the air itself, as if reality remembered to provide ground under his feet. Golden wings spread wide, that ridiculous mask reflecting firelight from burning districts. He moved with absolute confidence, the kind that came from never experiencing meaningful opposition. The assembled angels parted for him, creating a corridor. He walked through it like a king, reviewing troops before battle. When he reached the perimeter of JinWoo's domain, he stopped. Studied the darkness coating the structure. Studied JinWoo standing at its center. Tilted his head slightly.
So, you're the one causing problems. Have to admit, I'm curious. What the hell are you supposed to be?
Adam said, voice carrying that amplified quality even at conversational volume. JinWoo didn't answer. He was assessing power levels, movement patterns, the way reality seemed to bend slightly around the Archangel. This was different from the elite forces. Different from Lute's tactical intelligence. This was raw, overwhelming authority backed by genuine capability. Adam seemed to interpret the silence as defiance. His smile widened behind the mask.
Strong silent type. I can respect that. Makes this more interesting.
He gestured at the domain at the protected structure.
Nice trick with the darkness. Very dramatic. Want to know what I think?
JinWoo said.
No.
Adam laughed, genuine amusement rather than mockery.
I like you. You've got attitude. Unfortunately, you're also seriously fucking up my schedule. This extermination was supposed to be wrapped by now. Clean, efficient, all the sinners dead or hiding. Instead, I've got you playing hero and my lieutenant filing reports about unprecedented resistance.
He cracked his knuckles, the sound echoing wrong, like bones breaking in reverse.
So here's how this goes. You surrender, drop the shadow puppet show, and let me finish the job. Everyone inside that building dies quick. Painless, divine mercy and all that. You resist and I tear this place apart brick by brick with you in it. They die slow, screaming, and you get to watch before I end you.
JinWoo met Adam's eyes through the mask. Saw the absolute certainty there. Not arrogance exactly, but the confidence of someone who'd never lost. Who couldn't conceive of losing.
Third option,
JinWoo said quietly. Adam's posture shifted subtly, no longer casual.
Oh, what's that?
JinWoo replied. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the ambient chaos of the burning city seemed to pause. Adam stared at JinWoo. JinWoo stared back. Then Adam threw his head back and laughed, huge, booming, completely unrestrained.
Oh man, that's fucking beautiful. You actually think...
He stopped mid-sentence, examining JinWoo more carefully.
Wait, you're serious? You genuinely believe you can stop me?
JinWoo said.
I know I can.
It wasn't bravado. It was assessment. Adam was powerful, immensely so. Probably stronger than anything JinWoo had faced in this world so far. But power alone didn't guarantee victory. Tactical awareness, adaptability, willingness to pay costs, those mattered more. And JinWoo had been measuring Adam all night through his actions. Overwhelming force, minimal finesse, heavy reliance on subordinate strategy. A hammer who'd forgotten how to fight anything that didn't break immediately. Adam's expression shifted again, humor draining away.
Okay, new plan. I'm gonna beat you into the ground, pull you back up and beat you down again. We'll do that until you remember how to show proper respect. Then I'll kill everyone here while you watch. Sound good?
JinWoo's hand moved to summon his blade.
You can try.
Adam's grin returned sharp and vicious.
I'm going to enjoy this.
The Archangel launched forward. JinWoo's domain flared darkness, rising to meet golden light. The impact, when they collided, shattered windows 3 blocks away. The real fight had begun. The collision wasn't physical, not at first. It was pressure. Adam's presence hit like atmospheric change before a storm, and JinWoo felt his domain contract involuntarily. Not collapse, not break, just compressed, drawing inward, as if the darkness itself recognized something that outranked it in the cosmic hierarchy. The Shadow Monarch's authority resisted. The compression slowed, stabilized, but the space JinWoo controlled had shrunk by roughly 30%. Every soldier within that diminished field felt it a weight that made movement require conscious effort rather than instinct. Adam walked forward through empty air, each step producing ripples of golden light. He wasn't flying. Reality was simply remembering to provide ground beneath him as a courtesy.
Nice party trick with the shadows. Bit theatrical for my taste, but I can appreciate the aesthetic. You've got style, mystery, man. Shame you picked the wrong side.
Adam said conversationally, examining the compressed domain like a curiosity. JinWoo didn't respond. He was measuring not Adam's power that was obvious and immense, but the Archangel's blind spots. Everyone had them, even gods. Adam's first attack wasn't aimed at JinWoo. It was aimed past him. A spear of pure light materialized and lanced toward the hotel's foundation, designed to shear through load-bearing structures and bring the entire building down in controlled demolition. JinWoo intercepted with exchange, appearing directly in the light's path. He manifested a barrier-layered darkness, woven tight enough to diffract energy rather than absorb it. The spear hit, exploded, and JinWoo took the backlash across his chest and arms. Holy fire. Worse than the blessed weapons. This burned through his defenses like they weren't there. But the hotel stood. The people inside lived another minute. Adam's eyebrows rose behind the mask.
Fast. And apparently stupid. That had to hurt.
JinWoo agreed, smoke rising from the fresh burns.
It did.
His regeneration tried to engage, failed completely against the divine residue. He added the injury to his growing collection and ignored it.
You're actually gonna die protecting these worthless sinners. They're demons. Hellspawn. They exist to be punished. That's the entire cosmological framework. Why would you...
Adam said, sounding genuinely baffled. He stopped, shook his head.
You know what? Doesn't matter. Your funeral.
He raised both hands. The sky above brightened to painful intensity. JinWoo recognized the setup immediately, area denial through overwhelming illumination. Adam was preparing to glass the entire district hotel and everything in it in a single catastrophic release. JinWoo had maybe 3 seconds before the attack completed. Not enough time to evacuate. Not enough time to reinforce the domain to withstand that magnitude of holy energy. He needed to interrupt the charge-up or change the battlefield entirely. He chose the second option. Shadow Exchange put him directly in front of Adam Blade, manifesting mid-transit. The strike came from an angle designed to force defensive response. Adam could complete his attack or protect himself, not both. JinWoo was betting on self-preservation instinct. He won the bet. Adam pulled his focus down, manifested a golden blade to parry, and the area attack dispersed incomplete. The sky dimmed back to merely firelit instead of apocalyptic.
Ballsy move. Most people don't get this close. Too intimidated by the whole first man, father of humanity, heaven's champion thing.
Adam said, blade still locked against JinWoo's darkness. JinWoo pushed harder against the blade. Adam held position without visible strain. They were testing strength now, and while JinWoo wasn't weak, Adam wasn't human. The Archangel had advantages beyond just holy authority.
You're strong, I'll give you that, but strength isn't enough. You know what I am? I'm inevitable. I am divine mandate. I'm the hand of God reaching down to correct mistakes. You're just some guy with shadow puppets.
Adam continued conversational despite the blade lock. JinWoo broke the lock by shifting angles rather than overpowering. He struck 3 times in rapid succession, throat, knee, wing joint, every hit targeting mobility or vital function. Adam parried 2, took the wing joint strike clean. It didn't even slow him down. The wing damage sealed over almost instantly, holy regeneration, operating on fundamentally different principles than anything JinWoo had encountered. Adam laughed.
That tickled. My turn.
His counterattack was raw power without technique. A backhand that would have caved in a normal person's skull. JinWoo saw it coming, used exchange to displace behind Adam and struck at the exposed back. His blade met resistance he hadn't expected. Some kind of defensive field, invisible, but absolute. The strike stopped dead, and feedback force rattled up his arms, hard enough to numb his hands temporarily.
Oh, did I forget to mention divine protection? Comes standard. Makes me pretty hard to kill. Believe me, people have tried.
Adam said, spinning with speed that shouldn't have been possible for his size. JinWoo created distance reassessing. Adam had demonstrated absurd durability, instant regeneration, atmosphere-level attacks, and reality-warping mobility. And he was doing all of it casually, like warming up rather than fighting seriously. This wasn't sustainable. JinWoo couldn't match that kind of baseline power output indefinitely, especially not while maintaining the domain and protecting the structure behind him. He needed to shift the terms of engagement.
Igris Baru, perimeter control. Do not engage Adam directly. Focus on Loot and her squad.
Both commanders acknowledged and moved immediately. Adam watched them go, then turned back to JinWoo with apparent amusement.
Delegating already. What's the matter, big guy? Running low on juice?
JinWoo didn't answer. He was pulling the domain tighter, concentrating it into a smaller area with higher density. The pressure from Adam's presence had compressed it before. Now JinWoo was choosing to compress it further, sacrificing coverage for intensity. The darkness around the hotel thickened to near solidity, creating a barrier that would require serious effort to breach. Then JinWoo extended a portion of that concentrated darkness upward and outward, creating a corridor, isolated battlefield space separated from the civilians below. If Adam wanted to destroy the hotel now, he'd have to go through reinforced protection that would take time and energy to dismantle. Or he could chase JinWoo into the isolated zone and fight one-on-one. JinWoo was betting Adam's ego wouldn't let him choose the patient option.
Oh, I see what you're doing. You want to dance privately. Fine by me, just means nobody will see me kick your ass.
Adam said, grin widening. He launched toward the corridor. JinWoo retreated into it, leading Adam away from the structure, away from the civilians into space, where collateral damage wouldn't matter. The battlefield shifted from siege to duel. Adam pursued enthusiastically.
This is more like it, honest combat man to whatever you are. No distractions, no heroic last stands. Just you, me, and finding out what happens when shadows fight the sun.
The corridor was maybe 200 meters long, 50 wide enough space to maneuver, but constrained enough that Adam couldn't leverage massive area attacks without risking the domain walls and potentially bringing the whole structure down on himself. JinWoo knew this was temporary. Eventually, Adam would realize the constraint and break out. But for now, he'd bought minutes. Time for Igris and Baru to handle the angels still threatening outlying areas. Time for Charlie to prepare the civilians for whatever came next. Time to learn exactly what Adam could do before the real decisions had to be made. Adam attacked again, this time with multiple light spears manifesting simultaneously. JinWoo dodged 3, parried 2, took 1 in the left thigh. The holy burn spread instantly, compromising the leg's function. He shifted weight, compensated, kept moving.
You're tough, I'll give you that. Most demons would be ash by now. You've got some kind of serious endurance going on. Makes me wonder, what exactly are you? Not demon, not angel, not human, something else.
Adam said, manifesting more spears. JinWoo struck back with a shadow blade barrage, 20 simultaneous strikes from different angles. Adam's defensive field caught most of them, but 3 got through. 2 scraped against armor. 1 cut across his cheek, drawing actual blood. Adam touched the wound, examined the blood on his fingers, then looked at JinWoo with an expression that had lost all humor.
Okay, now you've pissed me off,
he said quietly. The atmosphere changed. Adam's presence intensified, and the casual ease he'd been displaying evaporated. This was a different mode, still not full power, JinWoo could tell, but definitely elevated. The Archangel's wings spread wider, glowing brighter, and the space around him warped visibly as reality struggled with the concentration of divine authority. JinWoo braced. This was about to get worse. Adam moved. Not flight teleportation or something close to it. He covered the distance between them in 0 time and struck with enough force to crack the domain floor beneath JinWoo's feet as he blocked. The impact drove JinWoo back 30 meters in a single hit. His arms were numb from absorbing that much kinetic energy. The defensive blade had fractured. He reformed it while dodging the follow-up, another teleport strike that would have taken his head off if he'd been a half-second slower. This was the problem with God-tier opponents. They had multiple escalation levels, and each jump in intensity could completely change the tactical picture. JinWoo was forcing Adam to take him seriously, but seriously meant exponentially more dangerous. Another exchange. Adam's blade met JinWoo's darkness in a shower of sparks that burned both holy and cold. They broke apart, circled, clashed again. Each impact created shockwaves that rattled the domain walls. JinWoo was bleeding from multiple holy burns now. His regeneration wasn't just slowed. It was actively reversing the divine energy, eating into tissue faster than his body could compensate. Every hit was building toward critical mass. But Adam was also bleeding. Small cuts. Nothing critical. But they weren't healing instantly anymore, either. JinWoo's darkness was interfering with the holy regeneration, somehow slowing it enough to matter. They were damaging each other. The question was, who could sustain that damage exchange rate longer? A voice cut through the combat, Charlie's voice carrying panic and desperation.
Stop, just stop. Why are you doing this?
Both fighters paused, fractionally turning toward the sound. Charlie had climbed onto some kind of elevated position outside the corridor, visible through the semi-transparent darkness. Her face showed every ounce of horror and helplessness she'd been accumulating all night.
These are people. They're trying to change. They're trying to be better. You can't just...
She shouted at Adam.
I can do whatever I want. That's what divine authority means, Princess. I decide who lives. I decide who dies. And everyone down here, they already made their choice when they ended up in hell.
Adam interrupted not loudly, but with absolute finality. Charlie's expression cycled through disbelief, rage, and something that looked like emotional fracture.
You're supposed to be heaven's champion. You're supposed to represent mercy and...
Adam laughed sharp and cruel.
Mercy, kid, you've got a really warped idea of how this works. Heaven doesn't do mercy. Heaven does judgment. And everyone here already got judged. I'm just the cleanup crew.
Something in Charlie broke. JinWoo saw it happen the exact moment when her last shred of faith in divine justice shattered. Her eyes began glowing red. Horns started manifesting. The air around her warped with barely contained demonic power. Then she screamed one word at a volume that carried across the entire district.
D-A-D.
Adam's expression shifted to annoyance.
Oh, great. She's calling Daddy. This just got complicated.
JinWoo felt it before he saw it, a presence arriving that made Adam's authority feel almost quaint by comparison. The sky tore open not with holy light, but with raw reality distortion. And through that tear stepped something that wore a ringmaster's outfit and a smile that had no warmth whatsoever. Lucifer Morningstar descended into hell proper, and his mood was absolutely murderous.
Adam, I see you're making my daughter cry. One of us explain why you're doing that on my territory.
Lucifer said pleasantly, which somehow made it more terrifying. Adam's posture shifted, not quite defensive, but definitely more careful.
Lucifer, this doesn't concern you. Annual extermination standard procedure, nothing personal.
Lucifer repeated, floating closer.
Nothing personal.
His eyes found Charlie, saw her tears and partial demon transformation, and something ancient and terrible flickered across his features.
You made my little girl cry. You threatened her hotel. You murdered thousands of my subjects. And you tell me it's not personal.
Adam said, but his tone had lost its casual arrogance.
They're sinners. They're supposed to die. That's the arrangement.
Lucifer said softly.
The arrangement just changed.
He moved. JinWoo barely tracked it. Lucifer crossed the distance to Adam and struck with enough force to send the archangel crashing through 3 buildings before arresting his momentum. The entire district shook from the impact. Adam pulled himself from the rubble armor-cracked mask askew. For the first time since arriving, he looked genuinely surprised.
You actually hit me,
Lucifer said, adjusting his bow tie casually while radiating apocalyptic intent.
Oh, I'm gonna do a lot more than that. See, you made a fundamental miscalculation. You thought being Heaven's champion meant you could do whatever you wanted down here. But this is my kingdom, my people, my daughter, and I've been very patient with your little annual genocide tradition.
He cracked his knuckles in reality, bent around each finger.
That patience just expired.
JinWoo stood outside the corridor he'd created, watching 2 cosmic powers prepare to tear each other apart. His domain was still holding the hotel, his commanders were still managing the perimeter, and the immediate threat had just shifted from overwhelming to catastrophic, but redirected. He made a quick calculation and decided this was the best possible outcome. Let the gods fight each other. He had civilians to protect. Charlie appeared beside him, breathing hard, still partially transformed.
Is Dad going to be okay?
JinWoo looked at Lucifer, who was currently dodging Adam's retaliatory strikes while simultaneously rewriting local physics to create attack vectors that shouldn't exist.
He seems capable.
Charlie asked.
And everyone else. The people in the hotel.
JinWoo said.
Alive, for now.
It wasn't particularly comforting, but it was honest. And right now, with two cosmic authorities about to level several city blocks in their personal vendetta, alive for now was the best anyone could hope for. The real battle was starting. And for the first time since arriving in this world, JinWoo wasn't the one fighting it. How intense it is, as we finally saw JinWoo struggle a bit because of that holy fire burning him. But then Lucifer showed up and completely stole the show. It is crazy how Lucifer makes Adam look like a complete amateur. I noticed that Lucifer is not just strong, but he's actually scary because he is so calm. It really shows that in hell, family is the one thing you do not mess with. Who do you think is actually stronger, though? Is it Lucifer or a full-power JinWoo? Well, let's see how King of Hell is about to show everyone why he is really in charge of this fucking world. The silence came first. Not absence of sound that would have been preferable, but a wrongness in how sound behaved. Voices stretched and compressed. The roar of distant fires became muted, then amplified, then somehow both simultaneously. Reality was adjusting to accommodate something that existed outside its normal operational parameters. JinWoo felt it through his connection to the shadows. The domain which had been struggling against Adam's holy pressures suddenly stabilized, not because he'd strengthened it, but because the external force compressing it had been redirected, overridden by something with higher authority. Lucifer descended slowly, deliberately, each meter of altitude given up with theatrical precision. He wasn't flying so much as reality was politely lowering him toward the ground at his preferred pace. The ringmaster outfit remained pristine despite the ash and smoke filling the air. His smile was fixed, but his eyes were absolutely arctic.
Adam, I believe we need to have a discussion about boundaries,
he said pleasantly. The word carried across the entire district, without amplification, as if the air itself had decided this conversation takes priority over all other sounds. Adam pulled himself from the rubble of the building Lucifer had put him through, armor cracked but regenerating. His expression had shifted from surprised to calculating.
Lucifer, been a while, you're looking theatrical.
Lucifer adjusted his bow tie with one hand, while the other gestured vaguely at the burning city.
I dress for the occasion. Speaking of which, what occasion is this exactly? Because from where I'm standing, it looks suspiciously like you're conducting an extermination on my territory without my consent, while threatening my daughter and destroying my subjects' homes.
Adam started.
Arrangement says...
Lucifer interrupted, voice dropping several degrees in temperature while maintaining its pleasant tone.
The arrangement was that you could conduct your annual cleansing within agreed parameters. Those parameters did not include systematic destruction of infrastructure targeting my daughter's redemption project or staying past your scheduled departure time because you found unprecedented resistance.
Adam's posture shifted defensively.
You never cared before. Every year, same thing. We come down, clear out the excess population, you don't interfere. That's the deal.
Lucifer agreed.
I didn't care because you followed the rules. This year you decided to make it personal. You threatened Charlie.
His eyes flashed red for a moment, not emotion, but power bleeding through.
That changes things.
JinWoo watched the exchange from his position near the hotel. This wasn't his conversation. These were cosmic authorities, negotiating terms through barely veiled threats. His role right now was maintaining the protective perimeter and ensuring no collateral damage reached the civilians, while gods argued. He pulled the domain tighter around the structure, reinforced the weak points Adam's earlier assault had created, and verified Igris and Baru were still managing the outer areas. The holy interference that had been crushing his soldiers was diminished now, not gone, but reduced to manageable levels. Lucifer's presence was creating localized reality distortion that interfered with heaven's authority over the space. Charlie appeared beside him, breathing hard from the sprint across open ground.
Is Dad going to fight Adam?
JinWoo said.
Probably.
Charlie asked.
Can he win?
JinWoo considered the question seriously. Lucifer's entrance had demonstrated power on a different scale than anything else tonight. Adam had been operating with casual superiority. Lucifer had arrived and immediately made that superiority look quaint.
Yes.
Charlie's relief was visible, but underneath it, JinWoo detected something else, concern maybe. Or recognition that her father operating at this level meant things had escalated beyond what could be easily walked back. Adam seemed to reach some internal decision. His casual arrogance evaporated, replaced by professional assessment.
Fine. You want to escalate, we escalate, but understand you attack me, you attack heaven. That's an act of rebellion. You remember how that went last time?
Lucifer's smile widened, showing too many teeth.
Oh, I remember. I also remember I wasn't trying to win. I was trying to make a point. This time...
He spread his hands, and the space around them rippled like disturbed water.
I'm not proving anything. I'm just protecting what's mine.
Adam replied.
Semantics.
Lucifer corrected.
Legality. I'm operating within my sovereign rights. You're the one who violated our treaty by targeting my daughter, so here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna leave. Right now, take your exorcist, file your report with Heaven's bureaucracy, and come back next year with better supervision. Or...
Adam challenged.
Or...
Lucifer stated.
Or I remind everyone exactly why hell needed a king in the first place.
The atmosphere shifted. Not gradually, instantaneously. The temperature dropped despite all the fires. Light bent wrong. And Lucifer's presence intensified until it felt like standing next to a barely contained singularity. Adam raised his hands defensively.
Okay. Point made. You're still scary. Message received. But I can't just leave. The extermination has quotas, numbers to hit. If I go back empty-handed...
Lucifer said flatly.
Not my problem. You should have thought about that before you made this personal. Now you get to explain to your supervisors why you failed to complete your objective. I'm sure they'll understand.
Adam's expression darkened.
You're really gonna do this? Throw away centuries of arrangement because of one girl's redemption fantasy.
Lucifer's tone remained conversational, but the underlying menace was unmistakable.
That one girl is my daughter. And yes, I absolutely am. Leave now or I make you leave. Choose quickly, I'm rapidly losing interest in diplomacy.
JinWoo could see the calculation happening behind Adam's mask. The Archangel was assessing odds, measuring risks, deciding if pushing further was strategically viable. JinWoo recognized the expression he'd worn it himself when facing opponents whose power level exceeded comfortable engagement parameters. Adam was realizing he might actually lose. And worse, lose publicly, which would undermine everything the extermination represented.
This isn't over. You are protecting sinners, harboring them, interfering with divine judgment. There will be consequences.
Adam said finally. Lucifer replied.
I look forward to discussing those consequences through proper diplomatic channels. At a time when you're not actively attempting to murder my citizens. Now get out of my city.
Adam launched skyward, but not in retreat and attack. A spear of concentrated light formed in his hands, massive enough to dwarf anything he had manifested before. He was betting everything on a single overwhelming strike targeting not Lucifer, but the hotel itself. If he couldn't win, he'd at least complete his objective. JinWoo moved to intercept, but Lucifer was faster. The King of Hell simply raised one hand, and the spear stopped mid-trajectory. Not deflected, not blocked, just stopped, frozen in space as if it had encountered a wall no amount of force could breach.
No,
Lucifer said simply. Then he closed his fist and the spear shattered. Not dispersed, shattered like glass, breaking fragments of divine energy scattering harmlessly into the night. Adam stared at his destroyed attack with an expression of genuine shock. Lucifer wasn't done. He gestured, and Adam was pulled from the sky, slammed into the ground, hard enough to create a crater and held there by invisible force. The archangel struggled, golden light flaring, as he tried to break free, but Lucifer's grip was absolute.
I'm going to say this once more, and I want you to really hear it. This is my kingdom. Down here I make the rules. Heaven's authority, God's judgment, all of that stops at my border. You want to enforce divine will, you do it in your own realm. When you're here, you're a guest. And guests don't murder the host's children.
Lucifer said, walking toward the crater casually. He released the pressure. Adam stood slowly, armor smoking mask cracked. For the first time since arriving, he looked genuinely damaged. Not beaten, JinWoo could tell Adam still had reserves, but hurt. And more importantly, humiliated.
You've made your choice, protected the sinners, defied heaven's will. When the consequences come, remember you chose this.
Adam said quietly. Lucifer replied,
I will. Now leave before I stop being polite.
Adam's wings snapped open. He rose into the air slower than his usual confident ascent. His voice carried across the district one final time, amplified through whatever method he'd been using all night.
Exorcists, withdraw, mission terminated, return to staging points.
The angels across the district responded immediately. They pulled back from combat, reformed into flight groups, and began ascending. Disciplined retreat. Professional acknowledgement of tactical defeat. Within minutes, the sky was emptying. Lute appeared on a nearby rooftop, watching the withdrawal with an expression JinWoo couldn't read from this distance. She looked at Lucifer, then at Adam, then at the hotel still standing despite everything. Her hand clenched once, then relaxed. Whatever she was thinking, she kept it internal. She launched skyward, joining the retreat. One more professional soldier, accepting orders she might not agree with. Adam was the last to leave. He hovered at the edge of the district, looking down at Lucifer, at Charlie, at JinWoo, and the defended structure. His voice came one more time, quieter now, but still carrying.
This isn't over, Morning Star. You've started something you can't stop.
Lucifer replied.
I look forward to the continuation, through proper channels, with advance notice, and nowhere near my daughter. Understood?
Adam didn't respond. He simply turned and flew toward the portal wings, carrying him up and out, until he vanished into the white light that marked heaven's entry point. The portal itself began to close, light diminishing until it winked out entirely. The extermination was over. The silence that followed was profound. No more angelic war cries, no more explosions, no more screaming. Just the crackle of fires still burning and the sound of debris settling in the aftermath. Charlie broke first. She ran to her father, transformed features reverting to normal as she moved.
Dad, you actually...
Lucifer caught her in a hug that looked awkward but genuine.
Of course I did. You called, I came. That's how this works.
He patted her head with a gentleness that contrasted sharply with the apocalyptic power he'd just displayed.
I'm sorry it took me so long. I was occupied. Didn't realize things had gotten this bad.
Charlie said, voice muffled against his shoulder.
It's okay. You're here now. Everyone's...
She stopped, pulled back slightly.
How many people did we lose?
Lucifer's expression sobered.
Too many. I couldn't stop what already happened. I can only prevent what comes next.
He looked at the burning districts, at the bodies visible in the streets, at the devastation that would take months to rebuild.
This was bad, Charlie. Worse than usual.
She said quietly.
Because of me. Because Adam wanted to prove my hotel didn't work. Because I gave them a target.
Lucifer's voice was firm.
No, because Adam is an asshole who exceeded his authority. This is on him, not you. Don't ever think otherwise.
JinWoo approached slowly, giving them space but needing to coordinate. Lucifer noticed him and smiled, the expression friendly now rather than terrifying.
And you must be the mysterious stranger who's been causing all the trouble. I've been getting fragmentary reports all night. Something about shadow soldiers and refusing to let angels do their job. Want to explain what you're doing in my city?
JinWoo considered how to summarize the situation, decided on honesty.
Portal interference pulled me from my world. Arrived during the assault. Civilians were dying. I stopped it.
Lucifer studied him for a long moment.
That's it. No grand mission, no destiny. Just saw people in trouble and decided to help.
JinWoo confirmed.
Yes?
Lucifer's smile widened.
Huh. I like you. You're either incredibly principled or catastrophically stupid. Possibly both. Either way, you saved my daughter's project and probably her life. I owe you for that.
JinWoo said.
No debt. I did what needed doing.
Lucifer laughed the sound genuine, despite the devastation surrounding them.
See, that's exactly the kind of statement that makes me think you're both principled and stupid. But seriously, you need anything Way Home Resources legal protection from heaven's inevitable retaliation, you let me know. Charlie clearly trusts you and her judgment is usually better than mine.
JinWoo nodded acknowledgement. He did need a way home, but that could wait. Right now, there were more immediate concerns.
The structure is stable. Civilians inside are secure. But the outer districts need medical response and fire suppression.
Lucifer said, snapping his fingers.
Already on it.
Across the city, fires began extinguishing themselves. Rubble started shifting, as if being moved by invisible hands.
Emergency services are deploying. We'll have triage stations set up within the hour. Not ideal, but it's what we've got.
JinWoo watched Hell's King coordinate disaster response with casual efficiency. This was someone who'd ruled for millennia. The theatrical personality was real, but underneath it was genuine administrative competence. Interesting combination. Charlie was organizing the hotel refugees for orderly evacuation to emergency shelters. Alistair had appeared from wherever he'd been hiding and was helping with surprising sincerity, or at least his version of it. Vaggie was coordinating with arriving emergency services. The crisis had shifted from combat to recovery. JinWoo's role was diminishing. He recalled his commanders consolidated his forces and began the process of releasing his domain. The darkness faded gradually, returning to normal shadows. His soldiers dissolved back into the reservoir of power he drew from. Exhaustion tried to assert itself. He ignored it. There would be time for that later. Right now, there was work to do. Lucifer appeared beside him again, examining the fading shadows with professional interest.
That's quite the ability. Shadow manipulation, necromancy. Some kind of death-aspected magic.
JinWoo said noncommittally.
Something like that.
Lucifer paused, then added more seriously.
Mysterious. I can respect that. Thank you. Really. Charlie means everything to me, and you kept her alive when I couldn't. That matters.
JinWoo met his eyes. Saw genuine gratitude there, not political courtesy.
She kept herself alive. I just helped.
Lucifer's smile returned.
Take the compliment, kid. I don't give them often. Now let's figure out how to get you home before heaven notices you're still here and decides to make you a priority target. Trust me, you don't want that kind of attention.
JinWoo couldn't argue with that assessment. He'd made an impression tonight. Best to avoid making it permanent. The city was still burning. People were still suffering. The casualties would take weeks to fully account for. But the immediate threat was gone. The extermination was over. And somehow, improbably, they'd survived. JinWoo looked at the hotel still standing, at Charlie coordinating relief efforts, at Lucifer managing his kingdom's recovery. This wasn't his world. These weren't his people. But for one night, he'd stood between them and annihilation. That was enough. It had to be. The sun was beginning to rise over Hell's eternal twilight. A new day was starting. JinWoo would help with the recovery, find a way home, and return to his own fights in his own world. But for now, in this moment, he allowed himself something rare: relief. Adam didn't wait for negotiations to conclude. He came back, hard wings blazing with renewed intensity, a weapon manifesting in his hands that dwarfed anything he'd used before. Not a spear, a sword massive and ornate, radiating enough energy to make the air shimmer around it. Lucifer met him head-on. No preamble, no warning, just raw collision. The impact shattered every window within 5 blocks. JinWoo's domain buckled under the shockwave, and he had to reinforce it immediately, or risk the hotel collapsing from resonance alone. The two cosmic entities weren't fighting near the ground anymore. They were using the entire vertical space of the district as their arena. JinWoo made a rapid assessment. If these two fought without constraint, the collateral would level everything within a kilometer radius, possibly more. Lucifer clearly didn't care about property values, and Adam had stopped pretending he was conducting a sanctioned operation. This was personal now. Ego and ancient grievances wrapped in holy fire and infernal authority. Someone had to keep the battleground from consuming everything it touched. That someone was him. He expanded the domain outward not to contain the fighters that would be impossible, but to create buffer zones around concentrations of civilians. Igris and Baru moved to the outer edges, directing evacuation streams away from the combat zone. His night-class soldiers formed mobile barriers, catching debris before it could hit fleeing demons. Above, Lucifer and Adam traded blows that rewrote local physics with each exchange. Adam's sword cut through reality itself, leaving temporary rifts that tried to suck in matter before sealing. Lucifer responded with raw force manipulation, turning Adam's momentum against him, redirecting strikes into empty air or back at their originator.
You're slowing down, getting old Morningstar. Or did all those eons in hell make you soft?
Adam taunted, breathing hard, but still grinning behind his cracked mask. Lucifer's response was to grab Adam by the throat mid-flight and drive him through an entire building. They emerged on the other side, still grappling, both shedding blood that burned whatever it touched. JinWoo tracked their trajectory, calculated probable impact zones, and repositioned his forces accordingly. A chunk of masonry the size of a car fell toward a group of demons clustered behind partial cover. He intercepted it with a shadow construct, redirecting the mass into an empty lot. Cost him 3 soldiers to structural dissolution, but the civilians lived. Charlie appeared at his side, her face pale but determined.
Is there a way to stop them without?
JinWoo said flatly.
No, this ends when one of them can't continue. Best we can do is minimize casualties.
Charlie pleaded.
There has to be another way. If I can just talk to...
JinWoo cut her off, not unkindly but firmly.
Charlie, your father is fighting for you. Let him finish it.
She looked at him, then at the battle raging overhead. Then back at the hotel, where refugees were still packed in too tightly. Her hands clenched.
I hate this. I hate that violence is the only language that works down here.
JinWoo said.
It's not the only language, but it's the one Adam speaks. You can't negotiate with someone who views you as inherently worthless.
Adam broke free from Lucifer's grip, creating distance, and raised his sword overhead. Light gathered not in a spear this time, but in a wave cascading outward in all directions. Indiscriminate destruction. He was trying to force Lucifer to choose between defending the city or pressing the offensive. Lucifer chose option 3. He snapped his fingers, and a barrier materialized around the entire combat zone, translucent gold that absorbed the wave attack and reflected it back at Adam, concentrated and amplified. The Archangel took his own strike multiplied, and the feedback hurled him into the ground, with enough force to create a crater visible from blocks away. JinWoo felt the barrier's edge brush against his domain. Not hostile, just marking territory. Lucifer was containing the battlefield, keeping the destruction localized. That helped. JinWoo could work with that. Vagji arrived with a squad of demons carrying medical supplies.
Where do you need us?
JinWoo pointed to 3 locations where his soldiers were maintaining barriers, but couldn't evacuate the wounded without compromising the protective formations.
There, and there. Extract the injured. My forces will hold cover.
She nodded and moved immediately, directing her team with military efficiency. Whatever else she was, Vagji understood combat logistics. Adam pulled himself from the crater armor, half destroyed, one wing visibly damaged. He was still fighting, still radiating power, but the casual superiority was gone. This was survival mode now.
You think you've won? You think stopping me changes anything? Heaven will come back. We always do. And next time...
Lucifer hit him mid-sentence. No technique, no finesse. Just a fist backed by the collected weight of hell's entire authority. Adam's mask shattered. The fragments rained down like broken glass, revealing a face that was startlingly human beneath all the divine trappings. He looked shocked. Actually genuinely shocked, as if he'd forgotten physical pain was a thing that could happen to him.
Next time, try not threatening my daughter. It puts me in a bad mood.
Lucifer said quietly. He struck again. Adam blocked, but barely. The sword shattered. Another hit. Adam's halo cracked light, bleeding out like wounded radiance. Another. Adam fell to his knees, wings scorched and useless. The archangel looked up, blood on his face, expressions cycling through denial and rage, and finally settling on something that might have been recognition, not acceptance. Just recognition that he'd miscalculated badly.
This isn't over,
Adam gasped. Lucifer replied.
It is for tonight. Now get out of my kingdom before I decide not to let you leave at all.
Adam tried to stand. Failed. Tried again. Managed to get upright through sheer stubborn refusal to acknowledge defeat. His voice when it came was hoarse.
Loot. Extraction. Now.
The lieutenant appeared within seconds, wings carrying her down to Adam's position. Her expression behind the mask was unreadable, but her body language communicated professional assessment of a catastrophically failed operation. She grabbed Adam without ceremony and launched skyward, struggling under his weight, but managing through practiced strength. The remaining exorcists, far fewer than had arrived, formed escort formation around their broken commander. The retreat was orderly but swift. No further engagement. No parting shots. Just withdrawal executed with the efficiency of soldiers who knew when the mission was unsalvageable. JinWoo watched them go, made sure none peeled off to target stragglers, verified the portal was actually closing behind them. Only when the last hint of golden light disappeared did he begin recalling his forces. The silence afterward was wrong. Not peaceful, traumatized. The city had been screaming for hours. Now it was just breathing, trying to remember how to exist without imminent death. Charlie stood motionless, staring at the space where Adam had been.
He really would have killed everyone, all of us. Me, Dad, everyone in the hotel. Not because we were evil, just because we were here.
JinWoo said, no point softening it.
Yes.
Charlie's voice was hollow.
And heaven let him. They authorized this. Every year. How is that justice?
JinWoo didn't have an answer for that. Justice wasn't his specialty. He just stopped threats. Whether those threats came from heaven, hell, or somewhere else entirely was irrelevant to the core function. Lucifer landed beside them, looking tired in a way that transcended physical exhaustion. His outfit was torn blood staining the ringmaster aesthetic. But he was smiling.
Well, that was unpleasant. Adam always did take criticism poorly.
Charlie started.
Is he?
Lucifer confirmed.
Alive, beaten, humiliated, and facing some very uncomfortable questions from his superiors, but alive. I try not to kill if I can avoid it. It causes paperwork.
Charlie said flatly.
He'll come back.
Lucifer's smile faded as he looked at the burning districts.
Probably, but not soon and not without hell of a lot more backup. This was bad, sweetheart. Worse than previous years. We lost a lot of people.
Charlie asked.
How many?
He ran a hand through his hair.
Still counting. Thousands, certainly. Maybe more. I should have been here sooner. Should have been paying more attention. This is my fault.
Charlie said firmly.
No. This is Adam's fault, and Heaven's. You stopped it from being worse. That counts.
Lucifer looked at his daughter with an expression JinWoo couldn't quite read. Pride, maybe. Or regret. Possibly both.
You really believe that, don't you? That people can be better? That redemption is possible?
Charlie said simply.
I have to, because if I don't, then Adam was right, and I can't accept that.
JinWoo left them to their conversation. He had work to do. His soldiers were dispersing the last of the immediate threats, fires, unstable structures, angels who'd been left behind in the confusion. Igris reported complete evacuation of the eastern district. Beru had secured the northern approaches. The Night-class forces were transitioning from combat to disaster response. He found Alistair standing on a partially collapsed building, surveying the devastation with what looked like genuine contemplation, rather than his usual theatrical amusement.
Quite the show. Though I must admit the ending was more conventional than I had hoped. Good defeats evil, father save his daughter, the righteous triumph, a bit predictable.
The demon said as JinWoo approached. JinWoo said,
Predictable works. It means people survived.
Alistair corrected.
Some people, others didn't. Question is, was their survival worth the cost? Will Charlie's little redemption project justify the thousands who died tonight?
JinWoo looked at him.
You're asking the wrong question.
Alistair replied.
Oh, enlighten me.
JinWoo turned away, heading back toward the hotel.
The question isn't whether it's worth it. The question is what happens if nobody tries. Your version of hell is this every year forever. Charlie's trying to change that. Failure is still better than giving up.
Alistair made a sound that might have been a laugh.
You know, I'm starting to understand why she trusts you. You're just as delusional as she is. I find that strangely refreshing.
The hotel was still standing. Damaged, certainly walls cracked, entire sections compromised, but structurally sound. JinWoo had maintained the core integrity throughout the final battle. The refugees inside were shaken, but alive. That was the metric that mattered. Vaji coordinated with arriving emergency services. Supplies were being distributed. Medical teams triaged the wounded. The hellish bureaucracy was grinding into motion, doing what bureaucracies do, processing disaster into manageable paperwork. JinWoo found a relatively clear space and sat down. His domain had been active for hours. Multiple holy burns across his body refused to close properly. He'd expended soldiers at a rate that would take days to fully replenish. He was operating on reserves of reserves. But everyone in the hotel was breathing. The city hadn't collapsed entirely. Hell survived. Barely. Charlie and Lucifer approached together, the family dynamic clearly strained but functional. Lucifer spoke first.
We need to talk about getting you home. You've made quite the impression tonight, and heaven has a long memory. Staying here makes you a target.
JinWoo said.
I know.
Charlie asked.
Do you know how you got here?
JinWoo considered the mechanics.
Portal interference. Shadow exchange caught something it shouldn't have. Replication should be possible if we can recreate the initial conditions,
Lucifer said slowly.
Which would require access to heaven's portal architecture, or a large enough distortion in reality to punch through dimensionally, neither of which is particularly safe.
JinWoo said.
I don't need safe. I need functional.
Lucifer studied him for a long moment.
You're serious about going back, even after seeing what you've seen. Even knowing heaven might decide you're a priority target for interference.
JinWoo said.
My world has its own problems. They don't stop because I'm elsewhere.
Lucifer smiled, but it was tinged with respect.
Spoken like someone with actual responsibilities. All right. Give me a few days. I'll talk to some people, pull some strings, see if we can engineer a controlled dimensional breach. Can't promise it'll be pleasant, but it should get you home.
JinWoo nodded acknowledgement. A few days. He could manage that. Help with recovery, ensure the hotel's security was established, then return to his own wars, in his own world. Charlie held out her hand.
Thank you. For everything. For protecting people. For not giving up. For showing me that you don't have to be a demon or an angel to do the right thing. You just have to choose to do it.
JinWoo shook her hand.
Your hotel will work. Give it time.
Charlie asked.
You really think so?
He meant it. Charlie's optimism was backed by genuine conviction. That mattered more than most people understood. Belief could reshape reality given enough persistence.
Yes.
The sun was rising properly now. Not the eternal twilight that usually dominated hell, but actual daylight filtering down through whatever astronomical mechanism governed this realm. It painted the ruins in shades of amber and red. Beautiful in a catastrophic sort of way. JinWoo looked at the hotel at the survivors at Charlie and Lucifer working together despite their obvious differences. This wasn't his world. These weren't his people. But for one night, he'd stood between them and annihilation. The extermination was over. The casualties would take weeks to fully count. The political ramifications would ripple for years. Heaven had been bloodied. Hell had survived. And somewhere in the middle, a strange alliance had formed between a princess, a king, and a shadow sovereign from another reality entirely. It wasn't a victory. Nobody won when thousands died. But it was survival. And sometimes survival was enough. JinWoo stood his body protesting the movement. There was work to do, recovery to coordinate, security to establish, and eventually a way home to find. But for now in this moment, he allowed himself to acknowledge something simple. They'd made it through the night. Tomorrow could wait. 3 days after the extermination ended, hell was still counting its dead. JinWoo stood on a rooftop overlooking Pride Ring, watching work crews clear a rubble while emergency shelters operated beyond capacity. The fires had been extinguished. The immediate casualties were identified. Now came the harder part, rebuilding infrastructure, processing trauma, and navigating whatever political aftermath followed a public defeat of Heaven's forces. He'd dissolved most of his army. Keeping them manifested served no purpose now, and their presence was drawing attention he didn't need. Igris and Baru remained along with a handful of night-class soldiers for basic security. The rest had returned to Shadow Reserve ready if needed, but not actively occupying space in Hell's already strained reality. Below, a procession moved through the streets, demons carrying their dead toward whatever funeral rites this place practiced. Silent, orderly, the kind of grief that went beyond tears into simple acknowledgement of loss. JinWoo had seen this before. Different world, different circumstances, same fundamental aftermath. War ended. Life continued. The gap between those two states was where people learned what surviving actually cost. Alastair appeared beside him, materializing from shadows that weren't quite JinWoo's, but similar enough to be unsettling. The demon's perpetual smile was muted today.
Enjoying the view.
JinWoo corrected.
Observing.
Alastor replied.
Quite the observer you've become. 3 days of watching coordinating existing visibly in Hell's power structure without actually claiming any authority. The overlords are getting nervous.
JinWoo said.
Good.
Alastor laughed, the sound carrying genuine amusement for once.
You know they're going to come for you eventually. Vox has been tracking your movements obsessively. Valentino sees opportunity in chaos. Even some of the smaller players are wondering if eliminating you now will prevent bigger problems later.
JinWoo turned to face him.
Let them wonder.
Alastor's expression shifted slightly.
Oh, I fully intend to. It's been the best entertainment I've had in decades. Though I am curious, what exactly are you waiting for? Lucifer offered to send you home. Charlie extended a permanent alliance. You could leverage what you've done here into considerable influence. Yet you just stand on rooftops and watch.
JinWoo said simply.
I'm waiting for the portal.
Alastor asked.
And once it opens, you just leave. Walk away from Hell like it was a temporary inconvenience.
JinWoo confirmed.
Yes.
Alastor studied him for a long moment.
You're either the most principled person I've ever met or the most magnificently apathetic. I genuinely can't determine which, and that bothers me more than I'd like to admit.
JinWoo didn't respond. There was nothing to explain. He'd done what needed doing. Now he was waiting for the means to return to his own responsibilities. Everything else was noise. The demon vanished as abruptly as he'd arrived, leaving JinWoo alone with the view of Hell's slow recovery. Movement caught his attention, Charlie and Vaggie navigating the streets below, organizing supply distribution. The princess was still working, still trying to help despite exhaustion that showed in every movement. Dedicated. Stubborn. Probably going to burn herself out if nobody intervened. But that was her choice to make. JinWoo's attention shifted to a different sector. 3 figures watching the hotel from a vantage point that suggested more than casual interest. He couldn't identify them at this distance, but their body language communicated coordination and assessment, threats evaluating targets. He marked their location, verified Igris was positioned to intercept if they moved on the hotel, and continued his observation. They didn't approach, just watched, same as him. Different intentions, though. His were protective. Theirs felt predatory. The power vacuum left by Adam's defeat was creating exactly the kind of instability he'd expected. Heaven had been publicly humiliated. The extermination had failed to meet its objectives, and at the center of that failure was Charlie's redemption project, now protected by forces Heaven couldn't easily counter. Which meant Hell's internal predators would start circling. If they couldn't attack the hotel directly, Lucifer's protection guaranteed that much. They'd attack its support structure. Supply lines, allies, anyone associated with Charlie's vision who lacked divine backing. Standard predatory behavior. Create pressure force mistakes, exploit weakness. JinWoo had seen it play out countless times across different contexts. The specific details changed. The pattern didn't. A portal opened behind him, not dimensional breach, but simple teleportation. Lucifer stepped through looking less theatrical than usual. Tired, maybe, or just done with performances for the day.
Brooding on rooftops, very mysterious loner energy. I approve,
Lucifer observed. JinWoo glanced at him.
You have an update.
Lucifer materialized a chair from nowhere and sat gesturing for JinWoo to do the same. JinWoo remained standing.
Straight to business. I can respect that, right? So, the portal. I've been working with some specialists. Don't ask who you don't want to know, and we think we can punch through to your dimension. Problem is, it's going to be unstable. Maybe 10 seconds of stable connection before it collapses. You'll need to move fast.
JinWoo asked.
When?
Lucifer paused.
2 days, maybe 3. We're aligning some cosmological variables that I don't fully understand but apparently matter. You're really going to leave. Just like that. No fanfare, no political maneuvering, no leveraging what you've done in a lasting influence.
JinWoo said.
Yes.
Lucifer asked.
Why?
JinWoo considered the question. Not because he didn't know the answer, but because explaining it required more words than he typically used.
This isn't my world. These aren't my responsibilities. I helped because the situation required it. Now it doesn't. Staying longer serves no purpose.
Lucifer made a sound between a laugh and a sigh.
You know, most people would kill for the kind of reputation you built here. Shadow Sovereign who stood against Heaven and won. That's the kind of legend that reshapes power structures.
JinWoo said flatly.
I didn't win. You did. I just kept people alive while you fought.
Lucifer's expression was unreadable.
Semantics. The story that's spreading through hell isn't about me. It's about the stranger who appeared from nowhere, commanded an army of darkness, and made Heaven's champion look mortal. That story is dangerous. For you, for us, for everyone trying to maintain stability.
JinWoo replied.
Then let it fade. I'll be gone. Problem solved.
Lucifer leaned forward slightly.
Will it, though? Stories don't fade just because their subject leaves. If anything, your absence will make the legend grow. The mysterious protector who vanished. People will wonder if you're coming back. Others will try to replicate what you did. Some will claim to be you. It's going to be messy.
JinWoo met his eyes.
Not my concern.
Lucifer stood dismissing the chair.
Fair enough. I'll send word when the portal's ready. Until then, try not to start any wars with the overlords. I just got this place stabilized and I'd prefer not to have another political crisis immediately.
JinWoo said.
They start something, I'll finish it. Otherwise, I have no interest in hell's internal politics.
Lucifer prepared to leave, then paused.
Comforting and terrifying in equal measure. For what it's worth, thank you. Charlie's alive because you are here. That matters to me more than you probably understand.
JinWoo nodded acknowledgement. Lucifer vanished through another portal, leaving JinWoo alone again with the view. The sun, or whatever hell used instead, was setting. The ruins cast long shadows that made the devastation look almost artistic in the failing light. Below, the work crews continued their labor labors. The funeral processions wound through streets still stained with evidence of violence. Life adapted as it always did. Charlie found him an hour later, looking exhausted but determined.
Lucifer said you're leaving soon.
JinWoo confirmed.
Yes.
She was quiet for a moment, watching the same view he'd been observing.
I wanted to say thank you. Properly. Not just for the fighting, but for showing me that you don't have to be perfect to do good. You just have to try.
JinWoo said.
You already knew that.
She turned to face him.
Maybe. But seeing someone actually live it, that's different. The hotel's going to reopen. We're rebuilding. Stronger this time, more prepared. And we're not asking heaven for permission anymore. We're just going to prove redemption works whether they like it or not.
JinWoo replied.
Good.
She stopped, reconsidered.
Will you? Would you ever come back if we needed help again?
JinWoo considered the question seriously. Interdimensional travel wasn't simple. Getting here had been accident plus interference. Returning deliberately would require resources, time, and motivation he didn't currently have. But she was asking if he'd help if he could. That was different.
If the portal pulls me back and if you need assistance, I'll provide it. But don't count on it. My world has its own crises,
he said carefully. She smiled, tired but genuine.
I know, just thank you for everything.
She left, returning to whatever organizational nightmare awaited her in the hotel. JinWoo remained, continuing his observation as day transitioned to night. Somewhere in the city, the three watchers from earlier had relocated. Still tracking the hotel. Still assessing. JinWoo logged their new position and updated Igris's patrol routes accordingly. When he left, the immediate protection would fall away. Charlie would need to build her own defensive capacity. Lucifer's authority would provide umbrella coverage, but the day-to-day security was her responsibility. She'd manage. She had Vaggy's tactical competence and her own stubborn determination. The hotel would survive, adapt, and probably become exactly what she envisioned, given enough time. 2 days passed in similar fashion. JinWoo coordinated security, watched potential threats, and prepared for departure. He'd collected no souvenirs, made no lasting political connections, established no permanent presence. When the portal opened, he'd step through and leave hell to manage its own affairs. On the third day, Lucifer appeared with notification.
Portal's ready. We're opening it in an hour. Central courtyard of the hotel. Figured you'd want to say actual goodbyes.
JinWoo nodded. He recalled his remaining forces, consolidated his equipment, and made his way to the hotel. The courtyard was remarkably crowded, Charlie and Vaggy obviously, but also Angel Dust, Husk, Nifty, and a surprising number of demons who'd been sheltering during the extermination. Not a ceremony, just people who wanted to witness. The portal apparatus was complex circles of energy, floating runes, spatial distortions contained by what looked like improvised metaphysical architecture. Lucifer stood beside it, hands raised, clearly concentrating on keeping it stable.
When this opens, you'll have maybe 8 seconds before it destabilizes. Don't hesitate. Don't look back. Just go.
Lucifer said without turning. JinWoo said.
Understood.
The portal began forming, not the golden light of heaven's gates, but a tear in space itself, showing glimpses of a world that looked familiar. Concrete, neon signs, night sky without perpetual fire. his world.
Ready.
Lucifer asked. JinWoo stepped forward, looked at Charlie one last time. She was crying a little, but smiling through it. He nodded to her. She nodded back. Then he stepped through. The transition was jarring reality, reasserting itself in layers, dimensional constants, realigning his shadow monarch authority, recognizing familiar metaphysical terrain. He emerged in an alley. He recognized Tokyo skyline visible above. Home. Behind him, the portal collapsed. No return path. No easy way back, even if he wanted one. JinWoo checked his phone. 3 days had passed here, 2-time synchronization apparently. Messages from his guild. A dungeon break in progress. Gates opening in unusual patterns. His world's problems hadn't paused for his absence. He dismissed the notifications, oriented himself, and started moving toward the nearest gate. There was work to do. His responsibilities resumed exactly where they'd been interrupted. Hell would manage without him. Charlie would build her redemption project. Lucifer would maintain order. And somewhere in the power structures of the Pride Ring, various predators would realize the shadow army they'd feared was gone, leaving only normal territorial dynamics. JinWoo was already thinking about the Tokyo Gate cluster, about force deployment and tactical response. Hell became memory filed away with every other crisis he'd addressed and moved past. But before he fully transitioned back to his routine, he allowed himself one final thought. They'd survived. Not perfectly, not without cost, but they'd survived. And sometimes that was the only victory that mattered. Then, he was moving against shadows gathering as he prepared for whatever waited in the gate. His war, his world, his endless rotation of threats that needed ending. Behind him, hell burned a little less. In front of him, Tokyo's neon reflected off rain-slicked streets. Different world, same fundamental purpose. Protect those who couldn't protect themselves. End threats before they metastasized. Keep moving forward because stopping wasn't an option. The extermination was over. The casualties were counted. Hell had its new order. And Sung JinWoo returned to the shadows where he belonged, anonymous, effective, and entirely unconcerned with being remembered. The gate in front of him pulsed with familiar danger. He stepped toward it without hesitation. Work didn't stop just because you'd saved one world. There was always another crisis, always another threat, always another fight. He walked into the gate. The darkness swallowed him, and in hell far behind and impossibly distant, Charlie stood in the courtyard of her hotel and watched the space where a stranger had appeared, changed everything, and vanished back into whatever void had spawned him. She returned to work. The hotel needed rebuilding, redemption needed proving, and heaven needed to see that hell wasn't waiting for permission anymore. Different battlefields, same fundamental war. The cycle continued. In hell, in Tokyo, across dimensions and realities too numerous to count. Threats emerged. Protectors answered. Life adapted. And in the spaces between catastrophes, people tried to build something worth protecting. That was enough. It had to be. The next war was already forming. Just not where anyone expected.